Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Damien Marie AtHope. In the simplest terms, I am an atheist-humanist philosopher and prehistorical writer-researcher at DamienMarieAtHope.com. I am specifically an axiological atheist. An axiological atheism can be thought to involve ethical and value theory reasoned and moral argument driven apatheism, agnosticism, atheism, antitheism, antireligionism, secularism, and humanism. Axiological atheists can be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. As an axiological atheism's ethically reasoned and constructive pro-humanity. I am an axiological thinker, value theorist. The science of goodness, worthiness, usefulness, valuableness, virtue, reliableness, accuracy, validity, morality, integrity, beneficialness, etc., etc. We axiologists have a value consciousness. And in general, we see the architecture of humanistic humanitarianism value in people that we see as dignity beings. Places and things are not. Axiology is a value theory. In its broadest sense, it involves areas of philosophy that are deemed to encompass some evaluative or evaluation aspect. Therefore, it crosses almost all domains in some way or another. Now for a more detailed terms as to what I am. I am an axiological atheist, an anti-theist, an anti-religionist, secularist, humanist, rationalist, writer, artist, poet, philosopher, advocate, activist with schooling in psychology, sociology, as well as I am an autodidact, self-taught in science, archaeology, anthropology, and philosophy. I promote science and am against pseudoscience, pseudo-history, pseudo-morality, things that are found in religion. Disagree to me already when it comes to just the fact that they will stick to their position. That's also why I don't like debates. Well, I will say this too.
Right.
Because you have to, in a sense, defend your position. I like more that you could change your position depending on new evidence or whatever. So sure. I prefer discussions. When they want to come on here and do a discussion, first off, like I already said, more than likely, if I can, I always want you to be there. There's really more than one reason. A, you're always there just in case I feel sociopath, especially with people that piss me off, and I get inappropriate. It's not super common, but it can happen.
It can happen,
depending on certain people. Also, that's why I also don't always talk to certain people,
right?
Because I know that they already are gonna cause me to have issues. Like people that are really psychopaths and stuff, I don't do good with them because they start talking.
It brings it out.
Right. Well, exactly. Yeah. I feel as hostile as they're hostile to me or whatever. So
yeah,
it's not healthy, but
fair.
But so like I told you, my goal, because that's the whole point of the teaching stuff anyway, to me is always, my goal is, what is my point? And my point is to make a positive difference in the world. So not to win, which,
right.
Not that we don't do, but but I don't like the win thing exactly because I'm willing to change upon new evidence. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's like, even like, say archaeology and stuff. I'm constantly willing to update upon new facts.
Right.
That's why go ahead.
So then you're always, you're able to win even if you quote unquote lose, right?
Because I always stick to the truth, right?
Yeah,
so that's why what I call what I do truth navigation. Because if I'm wrong, we will find out.
Right.
And if you're wrong, we will find out.
Yeah, that's right.
But I feel like that, to me, that's honest. That's, I mean, that's like I said,
so.
why I have a problem with the presuppositional apologetics. They're fucking not honest.
Yeah. It always struck me as like specifically designed to like just be as dishonest as possible, because it's like, no matter what you say, but you actually don't get to say that because I believe this and that's the truth. So
Yeah, Cory, you can't talk right now because God is real. And unless you accept
right.
God, you can't even talk.
You can't even talk. Like, what? No, you can't do that to me. Like, that's nonsense.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
but
frustrating stuff.
To me, the whole thing, they also try to push mainly to me, besides presuppositional, and you're going to read a thing that kind of like breaks it down, because I feel like, just like, I do in general, I don't like to straw man people. I want to figure out exactly what's their position and then be able to attack that position.
That's fair. Yep.
So I mean, I just feel it's an honest thinker anyway. So you should try to do that, So to me, I would just say I feel it's just fascist fideism. Fascist is both its goals, in a sense, its way of doing things. Fascism as a way of doing things.
Right.
That's not like thinking and rational, and it's more reactionary in a sense. So it's like a reactionary thing in communication, because they're not really desiring to actually convince us that God is real, and thus we can't use logic only if we accept God.
Right.
First off, there's so many problems. Oh, why not deism? Why does it have to be the Christian God? I mean, why not? How about this? You say it has to be a creator. Okay, well, Native Americans, then they have a creator.
Yep, that's right.
And every branch of the Nadane language has something close to the creator or great spirit, which is still the creator. So why not that?
Why not? There's no good reason not
so
to.
To me, that's this nonsense that so I could say it the opposite way of them, right? Unless you accept the Native American creator beliefs, you can't use your Bible to figure out if it's logic or not.
Yeah, that's right.
Because in the sense, they're just asserting this thing, and they say, "Well, there has to be this beginning belief." Well, there has to be beginning beliefs.
Yeah.
But most honest thinkers start with, what do we know is actually true, right?
Yeah.
This is what normal people start with. Or even, how could you figure things out? And that would be logic. They don't start at they act like they are, but because they say other people can't use logic, yeah, that's a fallacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
They
don't even like, because they're just making it up, right? So then they can say, well, you don't get to use logic.
Because I believe this, it's true, and because I believe it's true, and this is the only way that there's truth, that your truth is not truth because it's not my way. I mean, it's just like, what the shit?
Yeah. No.
Like, okay, well, does truth follow the path of logic,
It seemed like the thing that always got me when I listened to it is like that it often seemed like, well, it's made so that no matter what, you can't win, right? You can't gain ground and say like, well, but what about this? Because then they'll just say, oh yeah, well, that you only get to do that because of this, because we believe in God, right?
Right, yeah, but we're gonna go into it. I just wanted to wait to the reading until she said 5 minutes, so hopefully it's soon. Because I like to get going. But if she doesn't show up, we're still gonna do this.
We're already here.
Yeah, we're already here. We're gonna do a talk on this stuff.
Okay. Yeah,
she wanted this talk to help because she wants to do debates with these people. Nikki wants to do debates with, which is beat the cult for people.
Right.
She wants to do debates with these people. I seen one debate where she had talked to one of them, and they asked her, is rape wrong? And she like paused or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, see, an atheist worldview doesn't like God because God could come up with rape." Well, that's bullshit.
I mean,
because there is no objective law on rape in the Bible, and if it is, it's almost positive.
That's right. And I mean, to take advantage of her pause is rather disingenuous, right? Because she could be coming up with reasons to explain what she's going to say.
Right. So that's why I told her the problem, if you want to debate these people, not only do you have to know their position, you also have to know your position very well.
Yeah.
Because they're going to critique. So to me, if you go into debating, a lot of people, you should know this anyways. Your own positions I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is so know yourself, like, the philosophy, know thyself. You should know yourself.
Yeah.
Because guaranteed, they're going to find any loophole, any little crevice they can stick their finger in to try to break, what you are.
Yeah. That's their whole game, right? Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Is that how you do logic? I could do that all day long. But, is that really move the argument forward and position?
Right.
But it's a game. That's why I said it's rhetoric. I said, you really got to get good at rhetoric. It's learning how, because see, they'll do, you're this. In other words, I mean is, no matter what's just been said, they are pushing this hyped, like laughing at you and stuff. They do it. It's part, like you said, it's a fucking game.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you didn't know, see, but it's like gotchas or something. I just find
Hey guys, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
How are you?
Good.
You?
So
I'm good.
Good.
Internet issues.
So Cory's going to go ahead and read the script that I gave him.
Awesome.
Basically, I want to go through and talk about what a presupposition is.
Yes.
Because
let's go over that.
First off, they kind of act like they own it. They don't.
They do.
They act like it's only their conception, which is not.
Right. Tag is like the only one I've gotten, and I've been listening to a lot of Matt Slick and Matt Dillahunty. Because Matt's right.
Well,
so, Matt Slick,
by the way, Matt Slick also is not the person who invented this type of thinking. There's two.
Van Til, right?
Right, Van Til, and there's another guy. We're going to read about it. But my point is that so already you have to remember that when they say they have this, one way that they understand that's objective, they already have two different styles. So. And even more probably than that, but certainly two main ones. So it's already not objective. It's objectively not objective since it's already has. But they'll say, there's different ways.
They disagree with each other. They all disagree. They're like, well, I won't do it the way Kate does it, and I don't like the way Dyer does it, but I don't like the way that Van Til really did. I'm not really.
In that statement, you've just admitted that your presupposition being that things in the Christian worldview are objective is objectively wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But no, what they're saying, well, the problem is that the undergirding of the transcendental laws is the Christian God, and it's the impossibility of the contrary.
It's just gibberish. It's not anything real. It's
always
just gibberish.
Well, but like I was saying to Cory, but the problem is they don't know the Christian God, if there was a God, is the God.
Right. That's what I said. I was like,
it could also be, like I was saying to Cory, could be Native Americans, because this is why Native Americans I think is great, because they say there's a creator, but they don't give a lot of meaning to it. Right? So this is real good though for their arguments. I'm saying as a counter in a sense to their argument. Say, well, in our worldview, blah blah. So, well, in the Native American worldview, there is a creator. They don't know if it's always male or female though.
And then they'll say, well, that's the problem with their worldview, is my worldview specifies.
And they'll say, how did yours figure it out?
Right. Well, through divine revelation, Damien.
There's this divine revelation. In fact, older.
Well, the Christian God is the true God.
7,000 years old. So it's already above you. It's even above your conception of how old the world is.
Their arguments, like they're the same things, but they all have different versions, like you said. But it looks like
that's what I was saying. You need to remember. You need to remember their line. Yeah, you need to remember to stop them, and when they say lies, you confront it and go, "Well, you're not saying that that's the only objective thing, right? Because there's different ones. Just like if they say, well, the Bible's objective. Oh, so there isn't 40,000 denominations of Christians in the world because it's so objective? Are you not saying a Baptist may see things differently than a Methodist? Or how about
well, the reason they see it differently is because their doctrine isn't this, and that, and that's what and he's really dope actually. The guy I debated last week, he's real cool. But he was saying, well, the Unitarians, they're wrong because God's really a triune person. I'm like, that's fan fiction. What I need all of you to do is to demonstrate that God exists first, so that we can then determine if it's responsible for transcendental concepts. Well, that's what I believe I've done by demonstrating that contradiction and laws of logic exist, and therefore, and due to the impossibility of the contrary, the Christian God exists. And I'm like, you haven't done that. You're just claiming it.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, how do you account for logic? Well, we've been using it. It's a repetitive use of.
So I would, to make it simpler, we're going to talk about this, just like presuppositions. You understand? Presuppositions are part of pragmatics. That's what's also part of pragmatics. Logic. Or you could even say pre-logic. You can go look it up. There's this thing called pre-logic. In other words, that you make these realizations that all ideas can't just be on the table, that you have to have some meaning, some internal consistency or external consistency to what they say. That's how we know their logic. So logic is in a sense like science. You go find something. All dirt clods on the ground are not evidence of, say, something. But some dirt clods, let's say they find one or a rock or whatever, they find a rock that's 3 billion years old. Well, are all rocks 3 billion years old? No. So all rocks are not evidence for the age of the earth or whatever I'm saying. So I was making a comment. And also they know some of the rocks are older than the earth because they didn't come from the earth.
Right.
Well, right.
Shot. That's interesting. Yeah, that's true.
What I'm saying is that this is the way that you do this. So a presupposition, just like Cory's going to read real soon, it's about pragmatics. This is what I was telling you about learning rhetoric. So rhetoric is how you, in a sense, communicate. It doesn't mean you're communicating truth.
Arguing, basically.
It just means you're good at arguing, in a sense.
And that's what I'm trying to do. But they come with the wildest shit. They ask you wild questions like, well, how do you account for logic? Well, I use it regularly. Well, that's just relative.
Logic is a pragmatic approach to understanding thinking or the natural world. Because both are actually true. And it's a pragmatic approach. And if they say, well, no, it can't be pragmatic. Oh, you mean pragmatics like the presupposition thing that you use, which is a pragmatics?
Then they're saying, well, you presuppose logic, so why can't I just presuppose God? Because God's pragmatic.
You don't presuppose logic. The way that, so, I didn't read, but let me say real quick. So just so people get this. A presupposition is simply that you think of something. Like if I said, there's an atheist coming on this show. Her name is Nikki. Now presupposition is that atheist is what Nikki is. You're believing me. Everyone else doesn't know. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. It's not a special magical thing. It's just that it also can be like, in a sense, infinite regress. If I say, well, how do you know that she's an atheist? Well, she told me. Well, but she's also said other things. So maybe she's not. Am I supposing wrong? Am I knowing what happened currently? Did she just change after she talked to this wonderful apologetic person? Maybe now she's a Christian. I'm making
more of an atheist.
But how you, so a presupposition is just like the thought in a sense. It's like a speculation, like I talk about a lot, to try to help people grasp things. So it's a speculation in a sense that you do not know is true.
Yeah.
But you're assuming, hold on.
Yeah.
But you're assuming it is true.
Yeah.
So I told you, the first thing that you do in anything like that, whether it's Graham Hancock saying ridiculous things about archaeology and history, or a Christian like Answers in Genesis that doesn't believe, that there was an old earth. I mean, ridiculous nonsense. But I'm saying it doesn't matter. It's the same string of thinking. You made a claim, you hold the burden of proof. And the presupposition is just like the motivation for the claim, or the thinking around the claim, or the thinking about the claim, or it connects to it. So that's it. I mean, it's complicated in a sense, but it's not. So go ahead and read, Cory. So
sure, we'll start. I got presupposition is something that you believe is true without having any proof. That's from the Cambridge Dictionary. And then we've got in the branch of linguistics known as pragmatics, a presupposition is an implicit assumption about the world or background belief relating to an utterance whose truth is taken for granted in discourse. A presupposition must be mutually known or assumed by the speaker and addressee for the utterance to be considered appropriate in context.
And this is where, real quick, this is where they try to say to us that we presume that logic, science, reality is real, without God, and or supernatural anything, and that they say that we have to prove all that, which is really funny though, because then they say that they don't have to, in a sense, prove theirs. Because if you ask them all these exploratory questions to understand what their presupposition is to get to that presupposition, and then the presupposition to get to that presupposition, it was like this: God's real. And so I say, what's a God? Well, God is a supernatural being. Oh, okay, wait a minute. What's a supernatural being? Well, supernatural being is a spirit outside of the body that exists with, in a sense, an inherent mind and will. And I say, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah. What?
Because I don't.
So they show me the presupposition, right? And so he says, oh, well, but you don't feel it because you haven't become spirit-filled by the word or whatever. When the Holy Spirit enters you, then you'll understand.
So then you have to go back around.
Well, what do you mean by Holy Spirit? What do you mean by Bible? Because does everyone believe the same things about the Bible? When you say the Bible God, what do you mean about the Bible God? When you say God, what do you mean about God? What? And then God is all powerful. What do you mean by power?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, God, I'm not trying to show you that we could do the same all day long. If you learn my style, we could sit here just because we go ontology, epistemology, axiology. Ontology, what are you talking about, right? They make a claim. Doesn't matter. They can call these names to it: worldview, presupposition, speculation. They call it knowledge, but that's core shit. They might as well just say speculation.
Yeah.
Wild speculation. My wild speculation is the Bible is accurate. Because I believe that this wild speculation is accurate, my presupposition is that God must be real because the Bible says so.
Right.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah,
it's going to be a lot of reading because it's complicated. So I want people to understand.
Okay, so it will generally remain a necessary assumption whether the utterance is placed in the form of an assertion, denial, or question, and can be associated with a specific lexical item or grammatical feature, a presupposition trigger in the utterance. Crucially, negation of an expression does not change its presuppositions. I want to do it again and I don't want to do it again. Both presuppose that the subject has done it already one or more times. Okay. So then we've got the gospelcoalition.org.
What I'm trying to show you is it's not wrong that they mention presuppositions. It's wrong about how they use and try to manhandle logic and reason and the reality with it. That's fucking wrong.
Yeah, that is wrong. And the thing that I get is people always try to basically say, if I don't know how to answer a question, then their position is right.
That's a fallacy.
That's a fallacy.
That's like I told Cory. If Cory's not a great debater at rhetoric, but Damien's good at rhetoric, does that mean the truth has changed? What is rhetoric?
Yeah.
Rhetoric is the ability to motivate people to believe you. Not that it's true.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I try to teach dialectical rhetoric, which is truth-seeking motivation.
Exactly. Right. And that's what I'm trying to do. But I realized last week, I think we were just going in circles after a while because they keep saying their evidence is the existence of other things without actually showing the mechanism that connects those two things. And I keep asking them, what's their, justification? They're like, well, what evidence are you looking for? What evidence would you accept? And they're always like, well, what do you want to see? What do I have to show you for you to accept that this is true? And then I'm like, well, I don't know because you're the one making the claim, but I know that what you said to this point doesn't suffice.
Right. But once again, you're sounding like you're trying to be intellectually honest. And I already told you they're not. So let's keep reading. They're not. Just get me profoundly get this, Nikki. They are generally not intellectually honest.
It's
Done.
sad because it's like they seem like such good people. It's like an apologist or like a megachurch pastor, like who's not my uncle, who's a sweetheart. But like you would think, like, I just don't understand the motivation. Like, you clearly can't demonstrate what you're saying.
Because
You're not even trying.
Because they want to defend Christianity or their own belief system. But anyways, Cory, read some more.
Sure. TheGospelCoalition.org said, quote, misconceptions of so-called presuppositional apologetics abound. One reason is surely the fault of presuppositionalists. As an apologetic school emphasizes and tenets vary from person to person according to one's theological system.
Oh, that's the important part to remember, Nikki. They're liars. It's not objective. Done. It depends on what school you're coming from. In other words, you mean objective to the Catholic belief system, to the
belief system,
right? Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So when they worldview, well, your worldview is Calvinist, is it not? I'm not saying you. I'm talking about the person. Is it not, Unitarian, like you said, or is it whatever? My point is, because I know they're not Unitarian, but I'm just saying Baptist, whatever,
Orthodox,
Orthodox, whatever thing that they're doing, that doesn't matter. I'm just showing you that because, like, this is a Christian group saying this, and actually, this was out of a blog saying defending their apologetics.
Yeah,
really, this is a Christian.
So even blog. In the one defending it, they start off by going, there's a lot of confusion, and it's our fault.
Yeah.
At least they're honest about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So presuppositional apologetics involves a very simple procedure or method. Any specific application of the method may be difficult or get complicated, but the method itself is very simple. It involves two steps, one offensive and the other defensive. On offense, internally analyze the non-Christian's worldview and show how it's contradictory.
Exactly.
And then on the defense,
with the validity affairs. Sorry.
And then I know that's right.
But not that it's not. Yeah. So we're just defining this, so people are watching.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
I don't agree that their shit is good. This is
sure.
Just
that's just what they
do, so you understand what the fuck is going on. Because a lot, I've seen atheists like almost like, what is this debate?
Because it's gibberish. Because it's nonsense.
Like, what the fuck?
It really is. That's what I told the guy last week. I was like, I would have almost rather you tried an evidentialist view. At least we could go through specific concepts or ideas instead of just saying, well, these things exist, therefore my God, without actually trying to demonstrate the God exists. Because just saying, well, the laws of logic exist. How can you account for them if you don't, you just presuppose them because you can't? I can. My worldview does, and it's the God. And I'm like, well,
but that statement, my worldview does, is it's a fallacy because it doesn't do anything. You're claiming truth. You don't actually have truth. You're claiming knowledge, and you don't have knowledge. You're saying that your God invented logic. Where the point in the Bible where it says God, because there's actually verses in the Bible that say that the logic of humans is ruined by God or whatever. It doesn't say, oh yes, always be logical, and the Bible is the author of it and God invented it. It does not say that.
No, it doesn't.
And speaking of rape, by the way, your thing, he's gonna read. But I have 10 different verses that support rape in the Bible.
Yeah,
because of that bullshit.
This one guy keeps coming after me about it.
Oh, you don't have objective morality because of rape. Like, dude, did you read the Bible? I have. Holy shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of rape.
Yeah. And even Dillahunty, he did a debate with this Catholic, Michael Ignore or some guy, and he was asking him, is raping a baby and torturing a baby objectively wrong? And he got Matt to say no, but it depends on whose objective it is, basically. And he's like, oh, well, there it is. And it's like they don't even care to.
Yes, it's objectively wrong.
That's my response now.
My morality, which I can defend, my morality is a lot more involved. And it takes in a sense, a psychosocial, experiential, which to me reality is.
Right.
Look at things. It doesn't, in other words, it doesn't just even go one-sided. I told you, everything filters from my logic in a morality sense two camps of thinking, two types of thinking. I think, in a sense, moral fear, in a sense, and moral love. So moral fear, because I'm not making this more simple than it's more complicated, but moral fear, just in the sense, is justice. When you feel like justice is going to be infringed on or hurt or violated, that's moral fear.
Other animals have that as well.
Well, yeah, like I said, if you ever read my morality, you'd be like, oh shit, I agree with it totally. Or
I think vampire bats would too. They keep track of fairness.
So the other thing I do though is some things you need to have moral love. In other words, like you say, oh, this person, killed this person. You think, well, that they need to punish a certain way, and I said, well, that person is mentally, disabled or is incompetent because of, say, alcohol, so out of their mind weren't even there or something,
right.
or whatever. My point is, so you realize also we do this in America and in a lot of places that you it's not just murder, it's murder first degree, second degree, third. So in other words,
manslaughter.
But that has to do with, because sometimes maybe you could get more, but they end up with less for all kinds of different reasons. I'm just saying one, for me, reason is moral love. That even if someone deserves, in a sense, punishment, sometimes we don't do that. Like, I believe that once you capture a person and that you remove them from harm, I don't think that killing them once you got them is acceptable to me. And that's my moral love, in a sense, even though it goes against justice, because justice for justice is like an eye for an eye. But like there was saying, that eye for an eye leaves the world blind.
Yeah.
So, but that actual statement is really moral love. It's going, yeah, moral fear is important, justice and all that, but we also need to be empathetic. We also need to be. So to me, what I do is, in a sense, like I said, I weigh things. What category do they belong? What is the appropriate response? Moral reason. Anyways, go ahead and read the stuff, and I don't want to make this all about morals.
Sure,
no, that's fine. So I'll take notes on that too.
We're on the defense of the second step of presuppositional apologetics. Defense, they internally analyze the Christian worldview and show how it is consistent. That's from the presuppositions, from presuppositions.org. So then we're on to a quote from answersingenesis.org. When explaining their beliefs, Christians often feel they must first prove the Bible or prove the existence of God. This approach reveals that they do not yet understand the Bible's approach, known as presuppositional apologetics.
I like how he says that, as if that's what the Bible supports.
Right. Yeah. Wasn't made up after. Presuppositions are simply beliefs that everyone has that affect how they think, view the world, interpret evidence, and read the Bible. That's literally not what the definition said, but okay.
See, don't you like how I'm showing you why it's important to understand what it really is?
Yeah.
And you see what I'm saying? They're already lying. They're fucking already lying. They don't even get very far. They're already or meandering on the truth. How's that? They're taking it so far. You're like, where the fuck are you going?
Yeah, where are you going?
Apologetics is a reasoned set of beliefs. So presuppositional apologetics is a reasoned defense of Christian beliefs based on recognizing our presuppositions.
It's like one of the worst, but go ahead.
Oh my God. The battle is not over evidence, but over philosophical starting points, presuppositions. As Christians, we should never put away our axiom, the Bible, when discussing the truth with others. That's gross. I don't like that one bit.
Right? Like I told you, Nikki, more power to you that you want to debate him. Anyone that's watching this that wants to debate me, I do not debate anymore. And I certainly am not talking to presuppositional apologetics because it's a waste of my efforts and time. I would honestly talk to
I
Cory
thought-
about politics for 5 hours than even doing a 5 minutes with the fucking.
I would rather talk to you and Cory about politics for 5, and I have, well, not quite 5 hours, well, maybe combined, and it was more fruitful and more enjoyable and more illuminating than the debates I've had. And I mean, and to be honest, you know what? It's really interesting. I was thinking about this the other day because I was like running errands. I was listening to Matt Slick and Dillahunty, and I was just like, this debate was 6 years ago. This bullshit is still going on. That debate last week was so exhausting, even though my interlocutor really was a good dude. Now we're friends now. Like, he's cool as hell. And which usually happens with the people I debate. Like, they realize, like, off Twitter, like, I'm cool, like, and we're decent. You know, I'm decent. So, you know, but like, I was like, I honestly don't know if I can do this continuously because this isn't changing. And
I
God
could
bless
do it.
Matt.
I don't want to do it.
Oh God.
To me, they're easy because all you have to do is be good at rhetoric. If you're good at rhetoric and you laugh back at them, you're stupid. Oh my God. Really? You thought that? Oh wow. You know,
maybe that'll be the game. Maybe it'll be
this. Do shit like this.
Maybe it'll be like this. That'll be the self-challenge of me improving my argument in rhetoric, because and that's why, honestly, and I know I get so stressed out just listening to my debates, really, because they stress me out. But like, I want to be good at this, but I also want to like change minds as well, not necessarily of the people I'm debating, but I want people to see that there's an African-American female voice that's articulate and literate, not that we aren't, but literate and eloquent and able to represent these concepts in a way that are actually effective at changing minds, or at least changing thinking or prompting people to think. And because there's no one that looks like me. So I want to do that, but it's annoying. I'm
trying to show you how. I told you,
yeah,
you got to get better at rhetoric. You got to understand yourself, and you got to understand them. So keep reading.
The only way to do that is to keep debating.
Presuppositionalism is an epistemological school of Christian apologetics that examines the presuppositions on which worldviews are based and invites comparison and contrast between the results of those presuppositions. It claims that apart from the presuppositions, one could not make sense of any human experience, and there can be no set of neutral assumptions from which to reason with a non-Christian. Presuppositionalists claim that Christians cannot consistently declare their belief in the existence of God, of the Bible, and simultaneously argue on the basis of a different set of assumptions that God may not exist and biblical revelation may not be true. Two schools of presuppositionalism exist, based on the different teachings of Cornelius Van Til and Gordon Haddon Clark. Presuppositionalism contrasts with the classical apologetics and evidential apologetics. Presuppositionalists contrast their approach with the other schools of Christian apologetics by describing the others as assuming that the world is unintelligible apart from belief in the existence of God, and then arguing on purportedly neutral grounds to support trusting the Christian scriptures and the existence of God. Specifically, presuppositionalists describe Thomistic, also traditional or classical apologetics, as concentrating on the first aspect of apologetics with its logical proofs for the existence of God, simply assuming common ground with the non-Christian and utilizing piece-by-piece methodology. In this scheme, the common foundation of neutral brute facts leads to a generic concept of deity, then to various characteristics of the Christian God as revealed in Scripture, and so forth. Piece by piece, Christian theology is built up from a neutral common ground. Presuppositionalists assert that many of the classical arguments are logically fallacious or do not prove enough, and when used as arguments to prove the existence or character of God, they criticize both the assumption of neutrality and the blockhouse or piecemeal method for failing to start at the level of the controlling belief of worldviews and implicitly allowing non-Christian assumptions from the start, thereby trying to build a Christian quote-unquote house on a non-Christian quote-unquote foundation. Evidentialists demur from this assessment, claiming that presuppositionalism amounts to fideism because it rejects
fideism is in a sense faithism. It's the belief that faith is better than reason. It's an actual thing. You can go look up. It's a whole, and you know what? A lot of times I go, oh no, that's not me. No, I don't. Theism is wrong. You shouldn't just have faith because of faith. I'm like, but that is exactly what you actually are doing.
Right.
It says faith and reason are hostile to each other.
Yeah.
Faith
like
is
that?
superior at arriving to particulars. What the?
I mean, in general, I would agree with the statement that faith and reason are hostile to each other.
Well, I agree with that.
But not in advocacy of faith.
No, that's right.
Not supporting their position.
Right.
So evidentialists.
And by the way, when you say evidentialists, just people understand, these are evidentialist Christians that read the Bible, believe in God, all the same stuff, but think that these apologetic people don't have the objective truth.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Christians can. So that my point is, I try to say like the 40,000 Christians, just like I said, the different branches of the apologetics to begin with.
Yeah.
They don't have. They're lying. They do not have this objective thing that they say.
Yeah.
There's different groups. There's different ways, even if you are one of those groups or even the same group, to then have, well, you come from a different church. Or well, you have different beliefs about God that are a little different. Because you know what's really funny is you hear the Answers in Genesis guy, and then you have Ken Ham, right? So then you also have the other, like street preachers, the Banana Man. I'm trying to think of his name.
Ray Comfort.
Ray Comfort.
Yeah.
I seen a video where they treated each other like shit.
Ken Ham and Ray Comfort.
Of course.
Yeah, they because they actually don't think the same. Which goes back to what I'm saying. They don't. That's what I'm trying to say is that don't buy into their bullshit. That they try to, in a sense, make a closed argument. This is between us Christians, all of us, that have a subjective thing, and you atheists with no objective. You're like, yeah, I know a little more than you, I guess, because that's false.
Yeah. Yeah, I quite like where it's talking about the presuppositionalists think that the classical arguments for the existence of God are logically fallacious because they are.
I agree.
But then they assert these other things and they're like, but ours are good. But no, they're not.
But then the evidentialist Christians will attack them and say
they do. Wrong. They don't like them either.
Yeah.
I've seen debate with the R.C. Sproul and Van Til, or R.C. Sproul and Bonson. Bonson and Sproul. Yeah, like they go back and forth against each other. And that's why I'm looking. I mean, yeah. That's why I actually watch their videos to learn how to argue against them. Yeah. Like the only precept debates I watch is like Dillahunty and Slick and Dillahunty and Bruggen Kate. But they're really better at arguing against each other than we are.
But you probably weren't happy with it being like Matt Dillahunty wiped the floor with that guy, right?
Dillahunty.
But I don't want to go into a long thing about what he did. I'm just making a quick statement.
I actually like watching Dillahunty annihilate people.
It's not a philosophy thing.
No, because Dillahunty. No, you're right, because Dillahunty is very philosophically advanced, and the guy who was talking, like Slick is not. Slick is just that he always goes back to the brain fizz thing, which is what happened in the first presuppositionalist I ended up talking to, which led to this chaos. And oh God, I will never live down that conversation. It was horrible. But I didn't know. I just wasn't prepared. Now I am, but I'm getting more
questions.
questions.
Going to read again because we're going to go back to being prepared. This is for people watching too.
Yes.
Okay. Evidentialists demur from this assessment, claiming that presuppositionalism amounts to fideism because it rejects the idea of shared points of reference between the Christian and non-Christian from which they may reason in common. The conclusion of evidential apologetics is that the biblical's historical accounts and other truth claims are more probably true than false. Thus, the whole of scriptural revelation may be rationally accepted. And where we can't approach absolute certainty, we must accept explanations most likely to be true. The goal of presuppositional apologetics, on the other hand, is to argue that the assumptions and actions of non-Christians require them to believe certain things about God, man, and the world, which they claim not to believe. This type of argument is technically called a reductio ad absurdum, in that it attempts to reduce the opposition to it holding an absurd, i.e. self-contradictory position. In this case, both believing in the facts of Christian revelation in practice and denying them in word. So in essence, evidential apologetics attempts to build on a shared acceptance of self-evident or worldview neutral facts, while presuppositional apologetics attempts to claim all facts for the Calvinistic Christian worldview as the only framework in which they are intelligible.
Okay.
So, like I
That
said,
absolute certainty concept is never dying. Like, that thing is just.
well, but you notice he did say
Yeah.
they didn't have absolute certainty. When they're really, really honest, they'll admit, okay, this isn't actually absolute certainty.
They want, like, the people I talk to in a minute, they're like, well, I do know absolute certainty because my worldview.
But that right there, the more honest position said, although it's not absolute certainty, but let's read it again, please.
Where were we? Where was it? The conclusion is here we go. The conclusion of evidential apologetics is that the Bible's historical accounts and other truth claims are more probably true than false. Thus, the whole of scriptural revelation may be rationally accepted, and where we can't approach absolute certainty, we must accept the explanations most likely to be true.
Right, yeah. So we can't have
that is more honest from their point. Yes, but I'm not arguing against them on that. I'm arguing against people. So I'm supposed to be doing this debate with this guy, I guess, named Chase next week, and he's like super rude. And he called in at the end of the debate last week and was arguing with me and the person I was talking with. And he was saying, well, if you presuppose logic, then I could presuppose God. And you need to, he was like, what's the transcendental argument? And I was like, well, the transcendental argument, he's like, no, you're wrong. And I'm like, I wasn't finishing my sentence. It's like, we'll say it. I'm like, okay, the transcendental argument, that's wrong. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't you tell me what you want me to say?
No, but I wanted to go back. Like I'm trying to say is, do you see? Like I already said it before you told us that. I said that they make all kinds of gregarious and boisterous, and laughing and pushing you, and
It's rude.
That is like what they do.
Yeah. If I have to debate, I'm going to debate him because I already committed to it next week. But I think the guy who runs the channel might be racist. So I don't know if I will be going back. He's a presuppositionalist, Orthodox Christian. Who's
see what kind? Don't ever let someone tell you once again about ontology. Don't let them say what kind of just random. So you're a random Christian.
Mm-hmm.
You're just by yourself, not connected to any denomination. Oh well, no, actually, I'm a Calvinist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're the same, of course, if they do the apologetics as the Baptists, right? Totally, 100%.
They're arguing with each other.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean by
go back to
credo?
reading, but I'm just trying to show you. Yeah, a lot of it, like I said, it's learning how to stop them. It's nonsense.
Learning how to. That's what it's about.
Well,
it's not actually.
Yeah, because you saw that video, right, where I showed you. It's not very long. It's like a couple minutes, and then he go and get leaves.
Yes.
But you saw what I was saying. I said, make it not esoteric. I first told him, I gave out what I was in like 2 sentences. And I said, just give us a paragraph or less so we can get this shit started so people know what the fuck you are. And he's like, well, I am a Baptist but actually not like a normal Baptist. I'm a Baptist of the presupposition, blah, 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 and I believe in A, B, C, D, G, F, E, K, G. I'm like, whoa, I don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah. Say like, I believe Jesus died, or don't make it esoteric. And he's like, well, I already have the whole thing written down. I'm like, then why'd you come on here, in a sense? What the fuck? I mean, right? I'm not saying for you to give the full recitation and attack every part. I'm just saying, give us a simple version of what you believe so we can move on to this debate or whatever. And then he goes, whoa, you are just interrupting me. Remember? And I'm like, hold on a second. You're not going to do that to me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's a rhetoric thing. And then what did he do when he realized, oh, shit, I can't do that to Damien. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Because he's going to hold me to claims. He's going to make me define things. And then he's going to ratchet like I can and into his positions and just rip them to shreds. And he realized that, and I was both calm and even apologized. Hey, I don't want to, pressure you. Sorry. But he kept saying things. I have to interrupt because he's saying shit. I'm like, dude, that's what the fuck? I don't even know what you're talking about. I believe in the excommunial, standards of SDK, paragraph 10. And I'm like, I actually don't know anything about your brand of religion.
Your particular branch.
Your particular branch of Christian. I'm like almost dumbfounded and nothing about it. And then you're listing things as if I'm like some, 10-year devotee or something, and I understand all. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, let's go back to the reading. I'm just saying it's a lot about learning the technique of not being just bulldozed.
Right. Which I will, and I did. I don't, especially being a woman doing this, I'm very clear about not being bulldozed and like, no, and I'll speak over people if I have to. I have no problem with that. Yeah. But then they were commenting about how my femininity is disarming to men and it puts them in an odd position. And I'm just like, what does that have to do with their argument?
Well, too fucking bad.
It doesn't bother me at all.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it was like, and the guy was like, actually, Nikki's very, very forceful or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's just, I do.
Right, but every time they put it at you put it, and you don't like women like that, I guess. You want them to be subservient. I'm just making a comment that that's rhetoric. My women rhetoric would be don't let them get away with shit. Every time they say something back. Turn it back on them.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, you made the claim again that because transcendentals exist, therefore your God exists. But what you've yet to do is to actually show the God exists, and therefore we can draw conclusions from that. Well, what evidence do you want to see? Well, I don't know what evidence.
See, they got you. They turned it back into a question.
Yeah,
that's actually a skill that I learned. This one guy was really good at it, and I said every day I come in, I did a sales job, and they said every day I come in, I want you to never answer me, but always make me answer you. Every day we did this. It took me like 3 weeks before I could finally get the dude because he was so freaking good. I would be like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he'd go, I've been wondering how you're doing. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." And he goes, "I got you." But it was practice and rhetoric. And so I'm trying to teach in a sense. It's learning how not to be gotten by people. So he basically got me for 3 weeks. And then I finally started hearing, okay.
Well, my answer to that would be, like, to his question, what are you looking for? I don't know how to do. Oh, I said, I don't know how to make your argument for you. I just know up to this point, you haven't demonstrated your argument.
Which sounds logical. But like I said, that's not actually, if someone watches it, it looks like you really don't know that much what you're talking about, but he does just because he's more passionate, which is a fallacy, of course. But
it is a fallacy.
Are motivated quite well by fallacies. Why would we keep using them? Go ahead and keep reading.
Politicians and pastors,
Presuppositionalists compare their presupposition against other ultimate standards such as reason, empirical experience, and subjective feeling, claiming presupposition in this context is a belief that takes over precedence over another and therefore serves as a criterion for another. An ultimate presupposition is a belief over which no other takes precedence. For a Christian, the content of Scripture must serve as this ultimate presupposition. This doctrine,
what they mean by that is a foundational belief, is really what they call it. Because we already said all beliefs, in a sense, have a presupposition. And in normal usage, not the way they manhandle try to use it, but in normal usage, it just means that almost like a saying a speculation, which I say. Speculation. It could even be reason speculation, and it's still a speculation.
Yeah. Sure. For a Christian, the content of Scripture must serve as his ultimate presupposition. This doctrine is merely the outworking of the lordship of the Christian God in the area of human thought. It merely applies to the doctrine of scriptural infallibility to the realm of knowing.
You make a lot of assumptions.
That's from the wiki page of Presuppositional Apologetics.
Right, because we're trying to show what nonsense they actually believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Presuppositionalism is the idea that only the Christian worldview can account for logic, morality, science, induction, and the consciousness itself, and that all other worldviews are absurd. Presuppositionalists often go further and assert that both classical and evidential apologetics are sinful and blasphemous, as they savor autonomy and make human reason the judge of God's existence.
Yeah.
According to the presuppositionalists, non-believers, a term which in their mouth very often includes everyone from atheists to Christians not of the same worldview as the speaker, must assert the Reformed/Westminster Confession worldview in order to deny it. Essentially, this is an accusation of stealing the concept asserted by way of any number of the transcendental arguments for God.
Right, and they are literally taking classical Greek philosophy and trying to manhandle it so it only is limited to a Christian worldview when it actually was invented in polytheism.
Yeah.
They love the names. If I hear the name Hume one more time, every single discussion I've ever watched, ever.
Now have that kind of passion when you're talking to them as a response. Nikki,
I do
how
sometimes.
could you not support, being against rape? You need to go, what? What are you trying to say? My point is, because it's not about the issue. It's more about rhetoric. So you need to have the passion. But Cory, keep reading.
Oh, like being a megachurch pastor. That's
yes, like being megachurch pastor.
Oh, that's what you had to say. That's what you had to say. I can do that.
I'm saying it's a rhetoric game. You're not going to win on actual logic or actual philosophy. That's why we're not spending a lot of time really dealing with my idea about philosophy, because it really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You really need to understand what they're doing, and then understand that they're actually making it way more than they're acting like a presupposition is your foundational belief, where presuppositions are in all speech and all thinking. And what they mean is, if you take a presupposition and a presupposition and a presupposition and a presupposition, eventually down at the base level, you get something, and then everything starts from there. I do that too. And I just say, well, it starts actually in an activating experience, and then from the activating experience you have a physical and emotional and experiential experience. Then you think about that. Thinking becomes ordered, which is reason, and right reason becomes logic. Right logic becomes math. Right math becomes physics, and from physics you can get to all other sciences. So there's no faulty reasoning.
They love to ask me about physics. I'm like, listen, you need to talk to Lawrence about that.
But you get what I'm saying. They want that's a presupposition. I just showed you how I believe science is true.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so
that makes sense.
But it makes sense.
Yeah,
how
it
we
does.
experience the world, and then how we think randomly, and when we start thinking orderly, it's reason. When it becomes order to the point that it's able to even think higher, it's logic. When it gets higher in a sense and more ordered, it becomes math. Math is a form of, in a sense, are related to logic, and then from there, math relates to physics, and then physics relates to how we do science. I'm just saying is they act as if we have no answer. Just because Nikki or Cory or even Damien can't come up with an answer does not mean there's not actually an answer.
Yeah,
that's what I've said. Yeah. I do have a concern about, which is kind of like anybody can be misconstrued in who they are or what they are, but just, being who I am, I don't, people have already made the comment, well, she's just an angry Black woman or whatever.
So then you say yes. Yeah, damn right. The fact that this is what I'm trying to get you to understand. This is how you fight these people. You should be
goddamn right. I am.
You need to be indignant. You're an angry Black woman. I'm sorry. Do you know the experience of Black women? I want you to tell me how many people that had to die that were Black-faced and female in America to get human rights. None.
Yeah, and still dying.
Oh, a whole bunch.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe.
And then I have this bullshit dominating my community. This fucking this fucking.
Well, I don't want to go into that because I wasn't trying to hype you up.
Well,
I just was trying to show you this is the rhetoric style you need. Now go back to reading, please.
Okay. Rather than argue directly for God in the manner of the classicists and evidentialists, presuppositionalism attempts to argue indirectly for God by trying to prove the impossibility of the contrary, i.e., attempting a reductio ad absurdum on the opponent's worldview via internal critique.
Which I do right back to them and say, oh, you mean the 40,000 versions of your supposed objective something?
Right.
Oh, you mean the fact that we have to agree with your Calvinist worldview to get to your position is correct?
You're Calvinist. I'm not already in your fan club, so why would I like?
But I'm just showing you how to get back. I'm saying these are the things that we show them, or like I said because I'm trying to say is they try to reductio ad absurdum. We can do that right back to them.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say. Reductio ad absurdum. So you're saying there has to be a deist? Okay, so there's a deist God. Doesn't involve with humans at all, and you think he's a creator? Okay. And they say, well, no, they have to have a belief. Okay, fine. With Native Americans, they have the creator, and some of the stuff they say, if I had to accept things, I would accept that before I accept Christianity. So,
yeah.
Anyways, what I'm saying is, how is that not correct? How are you differentiating which type of a God? You say it's Christian God, it's just laughable. There is no philosophy ever been invented that actually shows that a philosopher Christian ends up with the Christian God. What they end up with is deism.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You can't even justify that. So
well, they can't justify it, but I'm saying is they know they cannot logically jump from a real philosopher. Knows they cannot logically jump, even a Christian one, if they're being honest. Knows you cannot jump from there is a God to the God has to be the Christian God.
Yep, and personal to me, and coming back from the dead, and helping my aunt. Sciatica.
Right, yeah. So but I'm just trying to show you the particularities. It's a small, nuanced thing, but it actually is the point.
Yeah, that's true.
Go ahead.
Okay, Saitan Bruggencate, among others, has said that the purpose of presuppositionalism is not so much to change minds as to close mouths. Indeed, the argument garners little respect even among conservative Christians. Even William Lane Craig, he of the self-authenticating witness of the Holy Spirit, has said of presuppositionalism that it ought to be a transcendental argument instead, which is really not what one would call a glowing recommendation. Stating,
and so people know that person you're talking about is a prominent, one of the biggest Christian philosophers. So the fact that a prominent Christian philosopher finds their shit to be horseshit should help you understand that it is horseshit.
And he's the king of horseshit. So I
wasn't saying he doesn't also have horseshit, but he will admit that an atheist can have morality. He will admit that a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
So he admits, I think, even that he can't get to the Christian God. He can only get to deism, in a sense, or some loose.
Well, he tries to use kalam and he just uses.
Yeah. But my point is, I'm just saying, even an intelligent, totally devoted Christian philosopher still can look at this stuff and go, yeah, this is nonsense.
Right.
So keep reading. It's not like all philosophers like, oh my God, where were these wonderful minds?
Yeah. He also said, as commonly understood, presuppositionalism is guilty of a logical howler. It commits the informal fallacy of petitio principii, or begging the question. Very few people find presuppositionalism convincing if they are not already believers. In other words, because most people have not delved particularly deeply into epistemology, presuppositionalism may catch them off guard. It is extremely disconcerting. One gets the distinct impression that sleight of hand has been perpetrated.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Because you think you're showing up for like an honest debate, and they're not honest. And you think you're showing up for a philosophy debate. Really, it's a rhetoric debate.
Yeah.
But it is not able to see where and how. The strength of this argument is that rather than trying to defeat its opponent in a race, it ties his shoelaces together so that he immediately falls on his face off the starting blocks. There is thus a heavy element of psychological warfare in the presuppositionalism.
Yes.
Either of the course type evidenced by Cyclone Brigade.
Who the hell wrote that?
Repeated demandings of "could you be wrong about everything you know," or a subtle but no less infuriating facade of triumphalistic smugness from the slightly higher caliber users of the method.
Yes,
You know,
like the
That's
first
what I was
conversation I
saying to you
had,
is
Chris.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was trying to say. The smugness or whatever is
That's
not
Chris.
an
100%.
aberrant. It's the main, main course.
It's
And I've
the
asked
tool.
them to come back and have the conversation with me again because I know. Now I know the game. And I asked them to have a conversation with me again. I invited on my podcast. I haven't heard back. So.
Well, I
I'm
told
more
that,
than-
that guy that it's the only one I've ever shamed. I don't generally shame people, but it's the only one I ever shamed because I felt like it was the most cowardly shit I ever experienced. Don't tell me you're going to come and have a debate with me. And then I asked you to explain yourself and you're like, I'm not going to explain myself. What the fuck?
Yeah, well, that guy seemed at least less
So
of an
that's why
asshole.
I said I owned him. And I
Yeah.
said, I won't take it down. He's pissed. I said, I won't take it down. I don't care if atheists are pissed. I won't take it down that I owned him until he's willing to have an honest conversation. Where
Yes.
if he does that, I'll take it down. Until he does that, that shit's not coming down.
Well, Chris put up the conversation that we had on Joe's podcast on his page, and there are people just going in, of course, on me, which is fair because I was not, first of all, aware that it would be a debate. I thought we were just going to talk. I did not know. I thought it was going to be like me and
So
Joseph.
it's not fair.
Yeah.
So it's not fair.
No, it's.
So you need to get out of this thing of defending them. It
I'm not
wasn't
defending them.
fair.
Well,
their positions weren't honest. They
honest.
didn't try to make you comfortable.
Well,
So
I don't expect my opponent to make me comfortable.
You didn't know as your opponent. I thought you said that it wasn't going to be a debate. So it's not
That's
an opponent.
true. I didn't. That's true. Good point.
Anyways, I don't want to go back to reading, Cory, but I just wanted to get that this is what they do. They make, like they just said, they make the person, they're not attacking that's why it's rhetoric. They're not attacking the truth. They're
Right.
attacking, in a sense, like an at-home and the person.
Yeah.
And then they use that to make you feel uncertain. So you're falling at the beginning and then you're falling the whole time. And then,
Which is what happened.
look at how wonderful we are. Everyone showed nothing.
And then you need to give your heart to Jesus and repent because you have induced the hostility of Christ. And that's what you need to do. And I'm
Fuck
like,
him too. I don't give a shit.
yeah, fuck him. I almost said a pejorative. I'm sorry.
What you need to always say is,
So
well,
you're
I
a
can't
black
be
woman.
saved because I blaspheme the Holy Spirit. There's a verse in the Bible. The only thing that says it can't be saved is if you blaspheme the Holy Spirit. Ever some Christians say, well,
yay.
you can't really do
Well, that's
that.
good. I'm happy.
But I say, well, I'm going to start off with I blaspheme the Holy
I'm
Spirit.
always going to start off with blaspheming
Yeah.
the Holy Spirit.
I will.
Well, but
I've done it
this
in
is
worse
good, though,
ways.
because this is the beginning of me doing the rhetoric to them.
Mhm.
Instead of it starts off with them tying my shoes, I start tying theirs.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
let me
that's
start
what
off with
I wanna
before we
do
get
is-
started. Let me just make sure that you realize you can never save me because I blaspheme the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
And it's
there you
the
go.
only thing in the Bible that says you cannot be saved from. That'll start them all fucked up. Just like
That's a
one
good
time I
point.
did a
thought of that.
debate thing, which I don't have it on video, but I took a small mustard seed and brought it and put it on the table in front of me. And I said, it says if your faith is as big as a mountain, you can move mountains, whatever. And it says, you can have faith as small as a mustard seed. So I go, here's a mustard seed, move it.
Right.
You can move mountains, pray, whatever. I'll wait.
Yeah. Use the force.
Anyways, that's still just rhetoric.
Yeah, no, that's right. But
That's what
It's
I'm
just
trying
plain.
to get you is that if you want to debate, let me tell you, if I was going to debate these guys, that I would absolutely do it in this way because it'd be the only way to get them to start thinking. Yeah, no. He's like, oh yes. All right, let's keep reading.
right. In either case, what is notable is the lack of argumentation from the presup side. It is a tar pit of an argument, and attempting to defend one's worldview is futile, since in his own mind, the presuppositionalist has already won the debate. Nevertheless, there are several glaring flaws in the argument. It attempts to smuggle in several assumptions with the hopes that the opponent won't notice them. Chiefly, it is unable to show that all opposing worldviews are incoherent. The presuppositionalist will often say, the Bible isn't the evidence, it's the claim. But the Bible is contingent on divine revelation, which itself is contingent on there being a God, not any specific one. Thus, the argument fatally lacks specificity. Just substitute Allah for Yahweh and the Quran for the Bible as a counter-argument, and the entire debate grinds to a halt. A deist could also run the argument just as well, and arguably better, since a deistic God communicates through nature and does not rely on a collection of books full of known contradictions, inaccuracies, and outrages.
Right, kind of like the like I said, using Native American creationist beliefs to fight Christians,
which I'd be down for. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I like it because they go, "Are you saying you would choose them over the Bible?" And I go, "Absolutely."
Yeah. Yeah, but what he did, like this guy before, he goes into specific reasons he doesn't like other ways of thinking. And then I had to redirect him and say, well, that's really irrelevant because neither of you have demonstrated that God exists. And then he's like, well, I believe I have by showing the existence of transcendent, and it's just this all day. So rhetoric.
Yeah.
When you say rhetoric, I was, okay. So you just mean how to play.
Well, it means a lot, but rhetoric is a skill you can learn, and it used to be taught. Actual schools, rhetoricians, was taught in Greece and it's taught even now. And in fact, even if you look up like what defines critical thinking, one of the parts of critical thinking is rhetoric, the ability to interact like that, without being bulldozed is a sense. So but I try to clarify what I do by saying dialectical rhetoric, because dialectical is truth seeking. So truth seeking motivation. So I don't just do random rhetoric. Although I could, like I said, but that just shows how non-important rhetoric is, other than it motivates people.
No, it's very ironic because I love public speaking. I've always wanted to be a public speaker, and I've always been told I'm very good at it. It's very weird when it comes to these topics, though, because it's like a chess game, and it's you're not just like doing it's not like a one-way speech. Like I'm not just preaching at someone or giving a political speech or a TED talk. Right. I'm going back and forth. So my original talents, I guess, at speaking and persuasive speaking at that kind of go out the window because I'm like trying to think ahead and remember the name of all the philosophers ever listed in a debate, starting with Hume.
But just so you know, I that's not important to know the philosophers. I don't know any of them.
Well, you have to bring up at least two.
I know concepts. I don't try to read on people. Doesn't interest me at all. Concepts, I want to hear how the thinking, because my brain then will process it. I don't need to hear how Matt Dillahunty thinks. I'll tell him how I think, which I have. And he goes, wow.
Have you?
Yes, I have. I have a video. When I could me and him talk philosophy, and I said, I don't agree with him. In fact, I told him before that I would have a debate with him on how he comes to beliefs, because I believe that he can't defend it and I can. And he's like, well, Damien, most people don't think about that stuff as much as you do. Yeah,
he's right.
But I'm trying to show you, though, it doesn't matter.
That's unfortunate.
But Damien doesn't try to look at a thinker. Damien looks at the idea, wants to understand how it floats in space.
That's why I tell people, I'm like, I don't care about Hume. I care about what you're saying and how I'm going to respond to it. Yeah. So bring up Hume one more fucking time. I feel like Samuel L. Jackson. Say Hume one more fucking time. Yeah. I'm so tired of hearing his name. But so I'm with you. But I will be on Dillahunty's show next week. So
yeah,
I'll talk to him about it.
Cool.
Before I end up debating this guy.
Okay, so an atheist could presuppose that consciousness, logic, etc. are simply brute facts and claim a similar advantage. Furthermore, one consequence of the transcendental argument family is that logic, knowledge, morality, consciousness, etc. are contingent upon God. Therefore, can be altered by him at will, and here's the key, without any of us necessarily knowing it. Van Til himself has said that God can take any fact and put it into a new relation with any other fact. In other words, God can lie, and we may not know when or if he does. Okay.
He does. It's always a he.
Yeah.
Always a he.
Yeah.
We just sit in kitchens. We don't really. And that's one thing I've noticed when like having these conversations. There was like, well, the atheist he always says, and the atheist he always says, and the Christian he always says. I'm like, oh, that's right. I'm not really supposed to be having this conversation. I'm supposed to be at home suckling a babe or whatever the hell that's called, nursing a child and
Same
cooking.
thing. Yeah, you're right.
And cooking. I'm not supposed to be thinking at all. I don't qualify. So, yeah.
Which
Oh, by
also,
the way,
once again, not all Christians would agree with that.
of course they don't.
Yeah.
No.
That's what I'm just trying to say is always remember your battle is not with them. Their battle is with them. You're also battling them.
That's funny.
But it's not like they're on the objective side. There's 3 million Christians against, us atheists. Like, the Christians, if everything was gone, there was no atheists and there was no other religion, the Christians would never be at peace. Telling you.
No, they wouldn't. Keep talking.
It's a joke when they talk about objective stuff. It's like ridiculous.
I'm still here. Yeah, I know. That's what I tell them all the time. I'm sorry. I'm going to throw something in your car.
But go ahead and finish reading.
Sure. This is commonly met by objections that God cannot lie, but Thessalonians 2:11 specifically recounts God sending a deluding influence on people for the sole and explicit purpose of making them disbelieve the truth. Note that this is not a lying spirit, something with an agency of its own, but a deluding influence directly from God. So, from the Bible itself, which the presuppositionalists are starting from, we know that God could lie, can lie, has lied, and very possibly still does lie. Yeah. Nice.
Right? Doesn't sound very objective.
No, that's right. Because they take the Bible as their pre-rational axiomatic concept, then presuppositionalists have no grounds for assuming the uniformity of nature, their own consciousness, or even their own existence. Of course, this means that they also have no grounds for the laws of logic, including the laws of identity and non-contradiction. Therefore, fittingly and poetically, the presuppositionalist is hoisted by his own petard, destroyed by the very charges of epistemic guilt he seeks to lay on the opponent. Presuppositionalism is defeated by internal critique and by reductio ad absurdum to even make its argument at all. Its proponents must borrow lumber from another worldview. So then we've got, to Damien, God is a presuppositional error. First, truly, what is a God and how can you claim to know about it? Guessing is not evidence, and neither are wild, unfounded assertions that are written in reality, devoid documents such as holy books. Atheists do not have to prove that gods do not exist, as gods have never been proven to exist, nor is there any good reason to think they could exist. So then we're on to fideism, from the Latin fides or faith, is the view that religious belief depends on faith or revelation rather than reason, intellect, or natural theology. In this respect, it is in direct opposition to the doctrine of deism. More accurately, it objects to evidentialism, the notion that no belief should be held unless it is supported by evidence. As a result, it holds that theology may include logical contradictions without apology. It may or may not also involve active disparagement of the claims of reason. Fideism teaches...
But one second real quick. But both of those, in a sense, are doing active fallacies. And it's also an active fallacy that you know. When you actively know you're doing fallacies and you do them, that is called intellectual dishonesty.
Yeah.
Which I tried to explain to this one guy. He kept doing this thing, and I'm like, dude, it is dishonest. I go, you can't do that. He goes, well, okay, then I do it. And I'm like,
yeah. Okay. Fideism teaches the rational or scientific arguments for the existence of God are fallacious and irrelevant and have nothing to do with the truth of Christian theology, because Christian theology teaches that people are saved by faith in the Christian God. And if the Christian God's existence can be proven, either empirically or logically, then to that extent, faith becomes unnecessary or irrelevant. Therefore, if Christian theology is true, No immediate proof of the Christian God's existence is possible.
Don't you like when they slip that fallacy in?
I actually
we
don't
have a burden of proof because that would contradict our beliefs. Like,
yeah, that's right.
It does actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah. In religious faith beliefs, it is common to hear expressions like believing with your heart or believe in faith alone, no facts needed. It is an expression of fideism, faithism, and in the end, fideism or faithism, adding their chosen version to the theistic reality confusion. Presuppositional apologetics is just fascist fideism.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
I agree.
Presuppositionalism to me is fascist Christian fideism. Christofascism was caused by the embracing of arrogant authoritarian theology by Christian thinkers. Fascism in this case is a form of radical authoritarianism theory about epistemology. The theory of knowledge, beliefs, truths, etc., especially with regard to its methods, validity, and scope. The ideological roots of fascism have been traced back to the 1880s, and in particular to the fin de siècle theme of the time, notably supporting emotionalism, irrationalism. The theme was based on a revolt against materialism, rationalism, and positivism. Fascism may seem a bit extreme a claim, but it can start to sound like fundamental Christianity in how it adopted policies such as promoting family values, banning literature or birth control, and increased penalties for abortion.
Well, and even remember, Hitler says our movement is a profoundly Christian movement.
Yeah.
He flat out says that many times.
Yeah.
Of course, some people go, "Oh, well, those were speeches to motivate people." Okay, but
yeah, they're political speeches, so they don't have
it, and the people were believers like you, and there seemed to be no contradiction for them to say that this is true, and thus we should hate other people or kill them, or So yeah,
it worked just fine with the Christian worldview. So
that's what I'm saying. You had no problems with it,
right? Good point. It does align with their Christian. Well, it could, but. I mean, the behavior of the God aligns with.
Well, put it this way:
Hitler.
Yeah.
It's actually a center position. People always think that it's a far right position, like Hitler. Hitler is an authoritarian, so he's north. Like we're anarchists, we're south on a political map.
Yeah.
And he is actually like, I don't know, I think Elizabeth Warren or something. He's about at her level of. To the center in a sense, but he is like almost hitting the page as far as authoritarian.
Yeah, if you're looking at the political quadrants, right?
The quadrants. So it's incorrect.
Okay.
Well, because
I'm like Elizabeth Warren and Hitler.
This. Not that you care to totally relate to this, but also I like to bring my own opinions into it. And it just really bothers me when leftists are like, well, it's the farthest right position. I'm like, it literally isn't. If you want to say the farthest right position, then you need to point to Republicans. They're right now the closest or ones that they feel are further than that. Okay. But Nazism was built off of Hitler, and Hitler had a middle-of-the-road position, although he was extremely authoritarian.
Okay. Look at that.
Once again, we need to know, because you need to know. So when I say that I don't like the right and I don't like Republicans because they strive for that they should understand you're worse than Hitler. Just saying, Hitler was more progressive than you were. So that shouldn't. But once again,
as long as you're not Jewish.
That's right.
True, but my point is the Christian worldview. That's what we're talking about, right? So the Christian worldview has no problem. In fact, you can just keep going right and keep going right and keep going right, and the Christian worldview for somehow just has no problem. Because you have Christian nationalists, you have Christian, separatists, you have all kind of Christian, denominationists. I mean, they have no problem, And I'm not saying that there's not some on the in a sense left, and I'm not talking about Democrats because they're like at the best, centrist. But I'm talking about real leftists like me and Cory. When you start going actually to the left, really far, okay, there are still people, even ones that are anarchists, that are still religious or Christian, whatever. But if you hear them, it sounds a lot more like the Christian Jesus that you would think.
The ideal.
Right. In a sense, what he'll say is that you should feed the poor, that what should a rich man do? Sell everything it has and give it to the poor and then follow me.
Hang out with sex workers.
Become a billionaire.
Throw the bankers in prison.
I won't be selling
a worker
everything.
slave, unit going and lie and cheat and then ask for forgiveness on Sunday. I'm just saying, but the Christian worldview doesn't have any problem with that. The violence, the killing, So I'm just saying that it's not, in a sense, me trying to, just do rhetoric and attach fascism to them. I'm trying to show that these things actually are similar things.
Okay. Just real quickly, I got to jump off here shortly, like in the next 10 minutes or so. I'm meeting with this woman who works at Citi, and I'm going to see if she can get me a job of some sort.
Okay. Well, me and Cory are gonna finish the video because I want him to go through all the stuff. So
very cool.
We're gonna
thank you so much, by the way. I appreciate it. I
know you earnestly want to do this, and I earnestly like helping people who are earnest. So
I appreciate it. I mean, well, you are. It was actually you, and Jimmy Snow, which led to my first opponent dropping off. Honestly, I really owe it to you. Your coaching and teaching has really helped me a lot, and I've become a lot more competent, a lot more confident. And when I debate Chase next week, I'm going to annihilate him. And I don't even like to talk shit like that because I'm really more of a doer than a talker. I don't like to talk, but I feel very confident because it really is about rhetoric. And I've been thinking too much about philosophers and logic. And it's no, I don't need to be doing that.
Yeah, if it was all about logic, they wouldn't be bringing up the nonsense they do. So go back to reading.
I was just going to say when you go, just let me know. I'll remove you from the stream. But then I need you to leave the window open so it can finish uploading.
Sure. Yes, I can do that.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay. Where was I? Presuppositionalism positions itself as Christian authoritarian fideism. All must accept their apologetic theology. It puts others under philosophic skepticism and places itself under fideism. Fideism is roughly a doctrine that faith is the basis of all knowledge. Presuppositionalism is a school of Christian apologetics that believes the Christian faith is the only basis for rational thought. It presupposes that the Bible is divine revelation and attempts to expose flaws in other worldviews. It claims that apart from presuppositions, one could not make sense of any human experience, and there can be no set of neutral assumptions from which to reason with a non-Christian. The doctrine of fascism states, the fascist conception of the state is all-embracing. Outside of it, no human or spiritual values can exist, much less have value. Thus understood, fascism is totalitarian, and the fascist state, a synthesis and a unit inclusive of all values, interprets, develops, and potentiates the whole life of a people. Let's see how well the doctrine of presuppositionalism sounds in the place of the doctrine of fascism. The presuppositionalist conception of the Christian apologetics is all-embracing. Outside of it, no human or spiritual values can exist, much less have value. Thus understood, presuppositionalism is totalitarian, and the presuppositionalist Christian apologetics, a synthesis and a unit inclusive of all values, interprets, develops, and potentiates the whole life of a people. Christians of presuppositional apologetics claim that it is logically invalid because it begs the question of the truth of Christianity and the non-truth of other worldviews. Fideism is an epistemological theory which maintains that faith is independent of reason, or that reason and faith are hostile to each other, and faith is superior at arriving at particular truths. The word fideism comes from fides, the Latin word for faith, and literally means faithism. Fideism has received criticism from theologians who argued that fideism is not a proper way to worship God. According to this position, if one does not attempt to understand what one believes, one is not really believing. Blind faith is not true faith. It's interesting.
Okay, good point, I guess.
Fideism can lead to relativism. The existence of other religions puts a fundamental question to fideists. If faith is the only way to know the truth of God, how are we to know which God to have faith in? Fideism alone is not considered an adequate guide to distinguish true or morally valuable revelations from false ones. An apparent consequence of fideism is that all religious thinking becomes equal. The major monotheistic religions become on par with obscure fringe religions, as neither can be advocated or disputed. As articulated by Friedrich Nietzsche, a casual stroll through the lunatic asylum shows that faith does not prove anything.
Right, and that's the thing I've been trying to say too, is that so you're doing, in a sense, the thing back of exposing the reductio ad absurdum of adding things like, oh, do you mean objective as in that, there's 40,000 denominations? Do you mean objective as there's multiple, versions of the presupposition? Do you mean that you have to have your certain Calvinist worldview?
Mhm.
Or is a Baptist worldview okay? Because they're both Christians, right? I mean, it's objective, right?
Right.
Oh, so objectively, you think that rape is wrong? Oh, really? So the 10 or 15 or 20, verses in the Bible that are like pro-rape almost, or certainly not anti-rape, or certainly not conceiving of rape as a rational person would.
Right.
Because a lot of the times in the Bible, it's a property being harmed.
Yeah.
It's not about it's wrong to rape. Women have a dignity you're violating. They say women have a property ownership by their husband, their suitor, their whatever. It's not about, because they don't say you have to give the woman 10 shekels of silver for her being raped. They say you have to pay the father or the husband, or whatever, so or the father. If it's a husband, if she had a husband or a future husband, and you took their virginity or whatever, you could die because you violated that future property ownership of that virginity. Not because women are valuable and you shouldn't do this, or they have human rights, or not. So I'm saying objective. What the? You should laugh. Objective.
Right.
Well,
that's the Old Testament, and we're under the New Covenant.
So you're admitting that the Bible was an error about and not objective about race. You agree with it.
Right. And then, but he came to fulfill the law, not to,
Right, Go ahead.
Kind of nonsense.
Circularity of presuppositional apologetics. The goal of presuppositional apologetics is to argue that the assumptions and actions of non-Christians require them to believe certain things about God, man, and the world which they claim they do not believe. This type of argument is technically called a reductio ad absurdum, in that it attempts to reduce the opposition to holding an absurd or contradictory position. In this case, both believing in facts of Christian revelation in practice and denying them in word. So, in essence, presuppositional apologetics attempts to claim all facts for the Christian worldview as the only framework in which they are intelligible. The reasoning in such arguments is fallacious because simply presupposing the conclusion is true in the premises does not constitute evidence for that conclusion. Clearly, assuming a claim is true does not constitute evidence for that claim. X is true. The evidence for this claim is that X is true. They should be able to do this in a way that isn't also equally valid for truth claims of any other religion. If this cannot be done, I can only assume that in their realm of thinking, all religious scripture from any religion is equally valid and equally true, removing any special claim for Christianity, or they are using special pleading. Presuppositionalism is a form of fideism that is based on philosophical skepticism. Presuppositionalists generally believe that theological assumptions or presuppositions are loaded into the epistemological foundation of every worldview. Since they also believe that every worldview built on false presuppositions is a false worldview and that Christianity is the only true religion, therefore they conclude that the only worldview built on Christian presuppositions is true or reliable. The error is located in the very first premise, i.e., the notion that theological assumptions or presuppositions lie behind every claim or position, theory, or philosophy. Why do they think that? Is fascist Christian fideism and the trinity of logical fallacies? begging the question, special pleading, and circular reasoning.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of other ones, but that's definitely some of
Those are the main.
the glory
Yeah.
days.
So true.
If you point out the circularity in the thinking of the presuppositionalism, they may say, well, under your worldview, all positions are circular, and under our worldview, we have the truth of the Christian God, so we are not bothered by such a claim of circularity in the thinking, as God created all thinking.
And you need to say, when you say Christian God, which branch of Christianity are you referring to? Are you referring to the Catholics? Are you referring
not
to
them.
Mormons? I'm confused here. All Christians?
Not them.
Oh, some Christians.
Not the Unitarians. Definitely
Right.
not them.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to show you that this is always thinking rhetoric. I mean, if you're going to debate these guys,
Yeah.
you know, whether they're
It's guys.
you know, well, it's generally guys. Well,
Yeah.
But my point is, it doesn't matter if it's they, them, she, he. The point is, these are the shit they do, and I'm trying to show you that some of the ways to fight back.
Yeah.
And even when you're being nice, you need to fight back, or else to me, it's a waste to me to talk to these fools. Because if you leave,
I'm getting there.
they feel more confident about their Christian worldview after talking to you. You're not really helping.
Well, the first dude just dropped out. The first guy just absolutely dropped out. The second guy said he didn't feel like he was being very clear or very articulate. And which is fine, because I'm going to have him on my show and we're just going to talk, because I just want to talk to him and he can.
I prefer discussions. That's why I say I will discuss with people. I don't have debates, because I am willing to both do truth navigation on myself, and if I need to change.
That's what I told him.
And I do truth navigation with you, because we'll find out if you have the truth or not.
Yeah, that's what I told him. I was like, I feel like in these conversations down the road, I trust you to like kind of help me try to see the different ways people present these ideas, so I can then get better at, stating and coming, because I didn't feel like I was being very clear, and I did feel like I was losing the audience. I mean, it's a Christian audience anyway, but yeah, you're right. It's a rhetoric thing, man. Like
if you don't get that, you've really missed what I've been trying to explain.
Yeah.
If you ever go against a presuppositional apologetics and you also don't fight a rhetoric battle while you're fighting the other battles, you're losing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm quite competitive, so
good.
Got my little Rocky,
I told
Rocky
you what
statue
you do and focus on. You're just an angry black woman.
Yeah. And Rocky was an angry Italian. I'm still gonna win.
There you go.
But I know, but I actually said that I was saying it as being sarcastic.
I feel you.
I don't feel you're angry enough, really. But I mean, I think we need to have a conversation about
why are you not angry?
Just that America and
where's the rage?
I already told you.
More angry.
Listen, I already told you I had to stop smoking and drinking, and now I'm trying to get off sugar. So I'm trying to not to be so animated.
But all I'm trying to say is it's already a lie. They like to lie. It's already a lie that you're an angry black woman. Because like I said, you need to, I feel, hang out with us a little more because you're not angry enough. That's all. I'm just being honest.
Well, honestly,
the level of anger seems inappropriate. It should be higher. Just saying.
Well, giving my father, and trust me, it was. I can get very angry, but I have to calm down because But
my point is, don't ever believe that statement again. Don't ever let it be said out of someone's mouth, and you don't call into the fucking curb for that shit. That's all. Go back to the
comments. No one said that to my face, but in comments, people have said that's just an angry black woman who's an
atheist. I thought these guys said this to you.
No, if they said it to me, I would have addressed it. But I don't respond.
Okay, well, because it is the kind of shit I could see them saying.
Oh, they will eventually. Chase will probably say it.
Yeah,
totally Chase will surprise me. Or like they're bringing up you're a woman or whatever. That does not.
That was in the comments. I don't. First of all, I don't read comments because I am already very insecure in myself. My father, you were never thin enough, never feminine enough. So I already have issues with myself. So
you're not feminine enough. So what?
I'm not
You're not
feminine. But then I'm too feminine when I'm
too
debating
feminine.
men.
So what?
Right.
Who gives
Yep.
a-
But
I
I'm too
can't
feminine
win.
when I'm debating men because like my feminine wiles throws them off their game or disarms them. And I'm like, that's wild to me because I'm a lesbian and I'm more masculine of center in my relationship, and Scene actually is more the aggressive one. So it's like I can't win. Like I really honestly cannot win. But then I'm too
But
feminine
if you
because I'm not a
stop playing
stud.
their game, you'll stop losing.
I don't lose. I never lost a thing.
But if you play their game, it is set up like they said, tying your shoes. If you let them play the game, they will do that. That is what they're doing.
Chris is the only one who got over on me, and that's because I did not know he was a precept. I did not know it was going to be a debate. If I had known that, I would have come ready for Chris, but I did not know. I thought we were just going to talk mostly about abortion and LGBTQ rights or other things.
But I'm just saying that, but also you not being able to go against him, you should never feel bad because it was a rhetoric game and you weren't ready for rhetoric.
I wasn't ready.
So if you clarify
and I want
what's
him
going on,
again, I'm calling him back to the ring, but he's not coming back.
Yeah.
I said, I was like, you can come back anytime you'd like to. Let's go. Okay, I'll let you know.
So go ahead and keep reading, Cory.
All right. We can say
I'm
that
gonna go on mute real fast so I can put something in the microwave, but keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay. We can say that at their core, all positions are circular. However, this is not proof of the equalization of all circular positions.
Right. It's like I said about speculations. It's not that a reasoned speculation, in a sense, is not a speculation. That's why I was trying to tell you. I'm not like, say, Graham Hancock. We'll come back to him. He says he has, these questions, but then he points it. I know this. This is true. This is whatever, and he doesn't say this is a speculation. He needs. I'm not saying that would make it a lot better, but it would make it some better because we're going to be more honest in a sense. But once again, like I showed or explained before, there's different levels of speculation. Scientists do speculation.
Yeah.
You generally, consider it more. They call it can't remember now. But anyways, there's different levels, right? So like I say that when it's reasoned, everybody generally who hears it, understands it, can kind of think, okay, this makes sense. If it doesn't do that, like when someone says that they don't have any evidence to support the jumping to the next thing, because that's what to me logic should do. You take a piece of evidence, then you jump to the next piece of evidence, and the next piece, Then you can, if they want, like that thing doesn't like, where you put them all together and you see a pattern. Right? They try to act like none of that can happen in science or whatever, which is literally science has proved it already. So what do you mean it can't do it? They've been doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
But go ahead and keep reading.
I am stating this to address religion circular positions such as are not equal to the problem of deduction and the problem of induction, reason or evidence, underlining all problems in philosophy, especially epistemology. All deductive systems, logic in particular, and philosophy in general, rely on the truth of its axioms or premises. So the problem of deduction is really that it is impossible to know the truth of axioms without assuming some a priori fountain of truth on which to rely. While rationalism claims access to the truth of innate ideas or revelation, skepticism rightfully points out that such a fountain of truth is unattainable. The problem of induction is the philosophical question of whether inductive reasoning leads to knowledge, since it focuses on the alleged lack of justification for either generalizing or presupposing. 1. Generalizing about the properties of a class of objects based on some number of observations of particular instances of that class, for example, the inference that all swans we have seen are white and therefore all swans are white, before the discovery of black swans, or presupposing a sequence of events in the future will occur as it always has in the past. For example, the law of physics will hold that they have always been observed to hold. Hume called this the principle of uniformity of nature.
Oh, Hume.
Yeah. Presuppositional apologetic fascist Christian fideism contrasts every non-Christian epistemology with Christian epistemology by saying that Christian epistemology believes in an ultimate rationalism, while all other systems of epistemology believe in an ultimate irrationalism by the default of not being or sharing with a Christian epistemology.
It's just ridiculous.
Well, certainly.
This one guy said that because I feel it's also an error. I've heard people say this, even skeptics. Of course, I'm a rationalist, so I don't always 100% adhere to what skeptics think, including Matt Dillahunty, which I do like it, by the way. I think he's great and does a lot of stuff, but I think there's some things I would tweak that he says, or certainly how he says and then how he acts. You can't say you know science is true and then saying I don't even know anything outside of my own mind. Those seem to be a contradiction, which Matt Dillahunty holds.
Yeah, a lot of people have an issue with that.
So, but I'm not going to go into all this thing. But what I was trying to say is, what I say is that there is some things that are just reasonable. Like this one guy, the one guy skeptic tried to tell me, Damien, you don't know the sun's going to come up in the morning. I said, well, the sun actually doesn't come up in the morning.
And he knows.
The sun is out there and we're revolving. So you mean that Earth is going to stop revolving?
Yeah.
Or you mean the sun is going to fall out of the sky? Or do you mean the sun will stop burning? Well, we know it's going to burn for a couple million years or whatever the hell, billion years.
Like so we actually do know that the sun is going to come up tomorrow.
Given I'm trying
That's
to
your bottom dollar.
In other words, I try to show him through rational arguments that actually we do know things. So when you say science, because it irritates me when skeptics go, science doesn't know things. I'm like, oh my God, shut up.
Yes, it does.
You don't know that. Or do you know that? You're no longer a skeptic. You now know something. Oh, okay. So you can have a reasoned argument built off of your own knowledge that you supposedly feel is accurate. Here's another thing that's not accurate. I said, we don't change. Humans require oxygen. In fact, all life on this planet generally requires oxygen. Even sponges, they found where they put them in a container. I can't remember now, so don't quote me, but like 30 days or something. I don't remember. And they died. They fucking died. They were like, what the hell? It died. It needed oxygen. No oxygen. So they were like, holy shit, we thought these things didn't even need oxygen. Wrong.
Isn't it an animal? It's an animal, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyways, I'm just making a point. I'm making a point that when the skeptic says, I can't know that things are going to be the same, I know that life requires oxygen on this planet. That is not changing tomorrow, not any day since, any day before. Not happening.
Well, you have faith in that, Damien.
My point is, well, they try to see skeptics make this. I don't know what's called a fallacy, but I would just call it an inaccuracy because I feel maybe it's a false equivocation. Maybe they're trying to act like two things relate. They'll say, "But Damien, there's this chicken, and it lives its whole life in a farm." Able to free range, runs around, thinks the farmer's the greatest guy, comes and can't wait to see him. Then one day the farmer grabs the chicken by the neck, puts on a block, chops its head off. So it thought its whole life, wrongly, that the farmer was going to be this great person that loved me and gives me food and just makes sure I'm safe.
Chickens feel love?
And I see, but it's a fallacy. That first off, you have humans that can change action. The sun is not going to change from being the sun and become the moon per se, or any other nonsense. My point, so you're saying something that can change. And here's a better thing. We know humans change their opinions. So to act like it's a foundational thing like the sun, this thing of a farmer and a chicken who both have agency and change, unlike, because the chicken one day the farmer could come home and chicken should start biting him, hate them, for whatever reason,
That's funny.
So my point is, as a rationalist, I try to go, wait a minute, is what I'm being offered rational? Because if I fit the skepticism, it will be because it's rational to do so. Like I said, that I believe the science. So science said that millet farming that was shown before in the Balkans and above the Black Sea at 7,000 years ago, and then new stuff that they checked again or whatever, and now they say that's not true. It's only 4,500. And I told Cory, although I do believe the science, I have this little tinge of skepticism. How in the shit did you mess up 70 different places that supposedly had this? I love science that they change to the new stuff, so I do it too. It's a good behavior. But I'm still like, how in the hell did we think that? You know what I'm saying? Especially because people understand archaeologists do things on context. That's why when Graham Hancock talks about shit all over the place, like, no, no. Everything is in it's like when you have the dinosaurs or when it comes to in the dirt, you dig down far enough, you find a lever where all the dinosaurs die, or all the animals at some event, all are in the same timeline of dirt in a sense.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Yeah. So it's real hard for me when you say, okay, well, the 7,000-year culture in this thing somehow has millet, you thought, but it's thousands of years different. I mean, it's just that in several places you said, but I feel like even that skepticism is rational. But here's the thing.
Right.
I told Cory to help people grasp this. I still believe the science. I didn't say I don't believe it. I just say I feel reasonable skepticism. It doesn't make that much sense to me. I'm kind of confused. I do believe in archaeology, so this makes it more confusing. Not less, more. Yeah. Okay, I trust you guys. You guys have a method. I'm thinking, what the fuck was happening? You need to explain.
That's pretty.
This seems pretty fucked.
Right. So well, guys, I gotta jump off.
It's not me saying that archaeology is fucked. I don't think that. I really, in general, love archaeology, so I don't have that feeling. But I'm just saying, and even that one fact, I accept it. Sure. I just go, man, it sure does feel uncomfortable to accept it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But not because I want to hold on to my previous belief, but because what you explained is irrational. This is hard for me to grasp, but I'll go with the science. Because this is another thing, too. To me, science is not common sense. Just because it doesn't make sense that you feel like you're sitting still and not moving. The Earth is going 1,500 miles an hour around in a circle, in a sense. So your lack of experiencing the, in a sense, spin of the Earth doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I have to remember, that some things that science does, as a rationalist, I know I have to see the big picture and realize, some shit doesn't make sense, but it's still true. And not like the Bible.
So much, Damien. No, not like the Bible. Thank you so much. I'm gonna keep messaging you as I prepare. I'm gonna do more research into rhetoric and less into the actual philosophy.
And one of the things you do is you don't accept them to push you around. You're too this. You're too quiet. You're too loud. You're too whatever. You need to immediately have the same thing back. Oh, I'm too what? My point is that because that's what it is. If you understand that's what it is, you'll do a lot better.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So
I'm getting better every time.
Here's my other thing too: is don't try to win. Try to win for the truth. So not for you, for the truth. That means also that if they're right, you accept it. I'm not saying they're right; they're not. But
they're not.
I'm just making the point that you have the right attitude. The attitude to me should be that I'm not winning or losing. I am trying to navigate the truth. What they are doing often, that's why I'm trying to tell you, is they choose not to behave in that art. Just like that guy that left when I started challenging him hard and stuff.
Yeah,
gone.
I had that.
And he's a doctorate. He has books and things, and he has.
I saw that.
He's not a little nobody.
No,
he's not. He still ran from me like he was running for the fences, and he has never even tried to. Yeah, I just go.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me again. Thank you for doing this, Damien. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's always good to see you.
Thank you.
All right,
amazing.
I will. I'll remove you from the stream, and I'll just get you. Make sure to keep that window open.
I will. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Great. All right, Cory, you can keep reading as soon as you have a chance.
All right, so we are at certainly one of the most frequent characterizations of the presuppositional apologetic of Cornelius Van Til is that it is fideistic. Lewis, for example, is concerned that Van Til, despite serving 45 years as a professor of apologetics, has constructed a system of theology, not a system of apologetics. In Lewis's estimation, Van Til has not supplied a means of disputing with unbelievers concerning the truthfulness of Christianity. In the name of defending the faith, he has left the faith defenseless. Montgomery likewise warns against Van Til's tendency to treat the unbeliever as a believer, working out systematic theology and its implications rather than verifying Christianity by focusing on their needs and using it as a starting point, the common rationality. Montgomery fears that Van Til has given the unbeliever, quote, the impression that our gospel is for a prioristically, fideistically irrational as the presuppositional claims of its competitors. Yes. Yeah.
Totally agree.
Pinnock also raises the same issue. While saluting the contribution that Van Til has made to a virile 20th century apologetic, Pinnock contends with that a curious epistemology derived from a modern Calvinistic school of philosophy in Holland has led him to align his orthodox theology with a form of irrational fideism. Geisler, in his Christian Apologetics, includes Van Til in his chapter on fideism, along with Pascal, Kierkegaard, and Barth. Geisler states that Van Til speaks from a strong Reformed biblical perspective theologically, and yet in an absolute revelational presuppositionalism apologetically, methodological fideism is Geisler's term for this position.
So I'm trying to show that, once again, not only was I not adding fascism randomly, I'm not adding fideism randomly either.
Right. Yeah.
Well, because the reason I say this because everyone thinks, oh, Damien just has opinions that no one agrees with, whatever. Oh, yeah, well, just because I don't, like she said, name drop certain philosophers, it doesn't mean I'm not thinking about this shit.
Right.
I like to think ideas. Like I said, I hate reading. So I'm not going to read some asshole's opinions. I'm going to go to me. Not saying that they're not kind of wonderful ideas.
Sure, they're great.
I'm lazy.
Sure.
Lazy. And so I'd rather go, just give me the ideas. Oh, think about them. Okay, that's good.
There you go. Yeah. Geisler notes 5 central contentions that are characteristic of fideism, including apparently that of Van Til. 1, faith alone is the way to God. 2, truth is not found in the purely rational or objective realm, if it is there at all. 3, evidence and reason do not point definitively in the direction of God. 4, the tests of truth are existential, not rational. And 5, not only God's revelation, but his grace is the source of all truth. Hanna has contended that presuppositionalism, as he terms it, is able, in response to inquiries as to the warrant for belief, to answer only in terms of obscurantistic fideism. Hanna regularly uses presuppositionism and fideism interchangeably in his book. More recently, Sproul, Gertzner, and Lindsley have argued that protestations to the contrary notwithstanding, Van Til's apologetic has no place, or at least not a warranted place, for reasoning with or giving evidence to unbelievers. In their judgment, fideism is the inevitable result of Van Til's presuppositionalism. The Bible and rape.
This is for the supposed people that, especially the ones that try to attack her and say, well, atheists don't have a objective, a morality when it comes to rape, but
right.
God does. See, if you have the Christian worldview, I'm like, that's not the Christian world. Good read.
Yeah. So we've got 1, murder, rape, and pillage at Jabesh Gilead in Judges 21:10 to 24 in the NLT.
That's the new something translation or whatever.
Okay. Number 2, we've got murder, rape, and pillage of the Midianites in Numbers 31:7 to 18.
And also, as you see, I don't want to read all the verses, so I only put 2 verses in there at the end. The 2 that, because go look at it yourself. It's bad. Trust me.
Right.
It's not objectively against rape.
Right. Yeah. Clearly not. Hey. Number 3 is more murder, rape, and pillage in Deuteronomy 20:10 to 14. Number 4 is laws of rape in Deuteronomy 22:28 to 29. 5, death of the rape victim in Deuteronomy 22:23 to 24. Number 6 is David's punishment, polygamy, rape, baby killing, and God's forgiveness in 2 Samuel 12:11-14.
Right, because see, David raped someone,
Mm-hmm.
and then because he did that, God wasn't happy. I think because she got pregnant or something. I can't remember now. But anyways, the fact is, the punishment was that he killed his firstborn or something like that.
Oh yeah.
As a punishment for him raping. So,
Right.
in other words, someone else, like they were talking about for Jesus, right? Someone else took the punishment for David,
The scapegoat.
the child, which is horrific, right? So so imagine if we took everyone who raped and we went and killed their child. Would that sound morality to you?
Does that sound Does that sound good? No.
Yeah. And saying that it's the Old Testament, it's just horse crap because Jesus says not changing a yacht or a tittle in the thing. So all this stuff he does not say, because see, people go like, oh well, those were just people that were sinning. Really? Because Jesus read that stuff too, and he said nothing needs to change. So sorry.
That's right. Yeah. So that's not a good argument.
Not a good argument.
Number 7, we've got the rape of female captives in Deuteronomy 21:10-14. And number 8
actually tells you how to basically break a woman.
Okay.
To rape marry her. You basically, it says just to take all of her makeup and her clothes and give her basically rags and no makeup and shave her head, and she can't do anything beautiful. And you're supposed to, it tells you this. This is the Bible's objective morality. It teaches you how to break a woman. Then you keep them from their family with you for a year, but you don't have sex with them. Only after the year when they've been broken, then you take them as your wife. Of course, against their will.
Of course.
Yeah, rape marriage. But I mean, so trying to act like teaching how to rape or break a woman and tell me that you have rejected morality is just fucking ridiculous, especially about rape. Like, oh yeah, atheists can't explain rape. I don't know, it hurts people. Done.
Done. Bodily autonomy. The end. Yeah. We win.
Well, you don't have an objective standard. Actually, I do. People own themselves. Done. Self-sovereignty. Right. Done.
Yeah. That seems pretty straightforward, actually.
Yeah.
So number 8, rape and the spoils of war in Judges 5:30. And we've got number 9, sex slaves in Exodus 21:7-11. When a man sells his daughter,
you're like, what? Sex slaves? Oh, right. Yeah. The Bible's real fun. Yeah, in a horrid kind of a nightmare way. But go ahead.
When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she will not be freed at the end of 6 years as the men are. If she does not please the man who bought her, he may allow her to be bought back again, but he is not allowed to sell her to foreigners since he is the one who broke the contract with her. And if the slave girl's owner arranges for her to marry his son, he may no longer...
her choice, though. It's
right.
Still, she's property.
If he says, this is now your wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. He may no longer treat her as a slave girl, but he must treat her as his daughter. If he himself marries her and then takes another wife, he may not reduce her food or clothing or fail to sleep with her as her wife.
The Bible just said you can have more than one wife.
Yeah.
What the hell? I thought people said the Bible was objectively only a man and a woman, a husband and wife. What? If he takes a second wife, so you could buy slave women plus you can get wives? Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some objective morality for you. But go ahead.
If he fails in any of these 3 ways, she may leave as a free woman without making any payment. That's from Exodus 21:7-11. And then we've got 10. God assists rape and plunder. Zechariah 14:1-2. And then we have, lo, a day shall come for the Lord when the spoils shall be divided in your midst, and I will gather all the nations against Jerusalem for battle. The city shall be taken, houses plundered, women ravished. That's bold in our notes because that's what. Yeah.
And you're like, Damien, you're being too harsh on the Christian worldview. It's moral.
Sure. Yeah.
It's objective against rape.
Yeah.
That's why God teaches you how to rape. Oh, sorry.
And half of the city shall go into exile, but the rest of the people shall not be removed from the city. Zechariah 14:1-2. Okay, so Damien's Caring Firebrand Atheist Activism Training as easy as 1, 2, 3. Atheist Activism Training number 1. Know you, know your motivations, and understand others.
To me, this is super important. That's why I start with it. You need, like I say, to me, you need to know, why am I doing this? And this goes about anyone watching this. Why do you want to do debate?
Yeah.
You really need to know this, because it's like saying, like, why are me and Cory do political videos, or do I bring up political stuff? It's just because I just think it's neat and fun, to call myself an anarchist or a socialist or a communist or whatever. Or do I actually think there's some presuppositional meaning to
right
these terms and why I think they have some value to me,
Yeah.
So it's important, to understand the why. So I'm not, like I said at the beginning, the presupposition is not wrong. Just what they're doing is.
Right. So then number 2, we've got ontology, epistemology, and axiology, or the methodological use of philosophy, which we've kind of talked about before.
Right. It's 3 philosophies that I'm putting together. Well, actually, what it really was, so people understand, I was first, how it happened for me, how I came to this conclusion, because someone else said that other people had something similar, but I didn't know this.
Okay.
What it is for me is, I went to school, and they told me in school that we could choose our morality, because that is one little class basically about how not to get caught. This is what it's called, the class. How to try to be a counselor without getting in trouble. Not how to be good per se, but how to make sure, don't let yourself be recorded. Don't write stuff down. There's like all kinds
various problematic things.
I'm like, yeah, but if you're doing good stuff, why exactly do we need to learn that?
Yeah.
Anyways, so, but that made me start, and the thing of choosing your morality made me start realizing, wait a minute, are they saying all the moralities are the same? We can't figure it out. We can't judge them. How do we judge? Then I realized there's meta ethics, and then what gives, in a sense, the value or the meaning to meta ethics. One of the things is axiology, but I realized that, right. And I was totally about axiology. That's all I did. Axiology, everything. I try to make everything in a sense, because I realized we're judging things. So
right.
It's really effective just to use that, by the way.
It does apply. It
does apply very, very, very well. And but it's more rationalist. And you have to get people to think rational. Then they understand why axiology. Because if you don't have rationalism, logic, you don't have axiology. They need each other. They relate and rely to each other. Because you're not just making wild judgments. You should be making axiologically sound judgments. So, right. And so but you do this all the time. When you judge things, you're doing it constantly. So yeah. I already had that. But then my wife was like natural, just good. She's like, I'm natural also, kind of. I haven't read as much as people would think I have, because how skilled I'm able to use ideas. It's just a lot of it's just me, and I read like a little cliff notes. Okay, good, I got it.
Right.
Just how I think. Okay, fine. Yeah. Nah. In fact, I might improve that. But so she is also extremely gifted, especially about asking questions. She's like a natural logician, man. And at first, all I heard was the questions. I go, damn, you always ask great questions. She's like, why don't you ask blah, 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 10 things. I'm like, holy shit, I haven't thought of one of those. But later I realized, wait a minute. She's asking them in an order.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Next to me. She's that's why I realized, oh my God, that's ontology. What are you talking about? You have to grasp that first. You're not, she always says to me, you're not born knowing. Oh yeah, I gotta ask. I have to understand. So ontology has to come first. I realized, because before I was putting axiology first. It's the most important. I would just use that like a hammer on everything. And it can work, but I realized, wait a minute, her way is so much finesse and like better than mine. just using one tool.
Right.
Hammer on everything. It's a screw. A hammer.
Yeah.
So I realized she really got a point. She always asks these amazingly good questions. So I realized, oh, okay. She doesn't realize this. I did. I realized, wait a minute, she's asking for ontology, and then she's doing epistemology, because she goes, what are you talking about? How do you know that? Why is what you've authored truth, value, benefit, whatever, judgment? Then you use axiology as judgment. And I was like, I realized that, she didn't say this to me, but I see that she's doing it like this. She grabs all her info and then she puts it together and then uses it against you. And I was like,
wow.
Oh shit. This is a good technique.
That's awesome.
And so that's when I realized people don't get into a lot of philosophy, but if they can just learn these little techniques, oh my God, it's amazing. She doesn't know anything, even these words practically, but yeah, she kicks him his ass. Like questions that he's just like a natural skeptic or something, or like I said, she's a logician. She takes tests. It's very high at logician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it reminds me of a discussion like I was trying to discuss with one of my stepdaughters. She's 7 years old and she's making these very broad claims that she has heard from other people. And I had to do the ontology and like, well, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Right.
And I said, well, how do they know that when they tell you?
Which is epistemology. Like, you see how it almost naturally follows once you realize it clicks. Holy shit.
Yeah.
This is how, that's why I say you can take if you learn these things well, you can take this against a doctorate level philosopher and hold your own, or maybe even, beat them depending on what you're doing. If you follow this thing, because they won't.
Right.
And then they'll try to throw fallacies because they're like, how in the shit are you doing this? They don't understand.
Yeah.
Or they'll go like, wow, I never thought about that. Or they get irritated. Well, me often, they just get irritated because they know I don't know what they know. And yet, how the hell am I kicking their ass?
Just by applying this, very simple little strategy. Yeah.
Right. And so I thought but this goes back to like, I have a thing on my page where I say that I feel like, thinkers or whatever, science, whatever, I feel like people are keeping ideas in a sense from the general public. Mm-hmm. I'm not really talking like Graham Hancock, where he feels archaeology is doing this.
Right.
I feel philosophy is doing this. And they say, oh, no, we're not. You read philosophy? Who the fuck can almost read that shit?
Yeah.
Is that for, hold on, is that for the general public or for you guys?
Yeah, that's right.
And as long as you keep making it for you guys and the general public can't utilize it, what the fuck good is it?
Yeah.
So you can masturbate intellectually that you could do stuff. And then, oh, well, no, I care about getting, I asked this one guy, okay, give me 10 of the most important fallacies. The dude could not do it. And I said, see? He goes, they all matter. I go, see? I go, okay, explain to me where I should read where they all matter. And then he goes, oh, you have to read a whole book on logic and then this other book here. And I was like, what the fuck? Here's my thing. Just learn these 3 things. Do it this way. Always do it this way. Never assume you know anything. And always do it this way. No, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's not, you don't need to read 10 books of logic or any books of logic. You just, and grasp also why it's even better. Why do we do it in this way? Why this order? How are you judging something you don't even know what they're talking about?
Right. Yeah.
So you realize it has to be this way. It has to be ontology first. What are you talking about? How are you judging something you don't know what they're talking about? And then your next question after they say that is, you should ask them, how do you know that? What you're judging is the response, the claim response. Oh, I know it because of the Bible. I know it because of God's word, or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Like I know this because of this. And you go, well, that doesn't work for me. Or yes, that does work for me.
Right. Or what you're doing is in a sense, if you're doing correctly, is an axiological value judgment and going, nope.
I need more.
Right. Well, I call it an axiological presumptive value failure.
Okay.
They are like the presuppositionalists. They are presuming that this is something, and it's actually a failure because they fail to. They make a claim. They make a claim. You can't have logic without God. Well, it would be real simple. Let's go to all the places where they don't have Christianity. Do they still use logic? Yes. Mm-hmm. You're wrong. Done.
Yeah.
When you said they have to know the world for you, there are pre-Christian philosophers.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, the first atheism one kind of comes out of India at 2,600 years ago. Still pre-Christian by 600 years.
Yep.
So you can't say a priori that it was somehow the Christian worldview that got them to think logic, or it's like, come on.
Yeah, you're inserting that where it doesn't actually fit. Like that's
right. And you axiologically go, how are you doing that?
Yeah.
No. What's this? Nope. It's not.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we got the three questions. Ontology, what are you talking about? Epistemology, how do you know that? And axiology, why believe your justification?
And I try to make it simple because I want you to grasp when you see these three philosophies, not complicated, like go read the definition.
Right.
Which is not harmful, definitely beneficial to read the definition, but you don't need to. Just understand this goes first, and this is what it means. That once you grasp that everything has to do this all the time, and every new claim, like I said, why do you believe in God? Well, because God's a supreme creator. What do you mean by creator? Well, the one that made the world. We don't know this that made the world. You know what I'm saying? But you're digging into, right? So then it's a supernatural being. You got to go back to ontology. You can't finish your axiology with the last one in a sense. If they've now added a new thing, you got to ask ontology about. Okay, wait, what do you mean by supernatural?
What does that mean? Yeah, what do you mean by that? Yeah.
Well, supernatural is a being of blah, 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 blah. You're like, how do you know that? You know what I'm saying? Or you could go, well, that's another new claim. What do you mean by that?
Right.
That's another new claim. Magical sky fairies. What? That's another claim. Both the fairies and that they're in the sky. I mean, I need to understand. Where in the sky. But so I'm just saying that once you grasp, it's like that's why I say it's like a meat grinder to me in my mentally, because once you get in, ontology and then epistemology and then axiology, and you bring something new in ontology. And then epistemology, and then axiology. But like I told you too, I don't always do that. That's just when I okay, now we need to really do something. When I normally just talk to people, I try to just have an honest conversation. I don't try to get over, like I said about winning. I don't try to do that.
Right.
When you try to force it, otherwise, that's when I bring more technique in. Then the person starts doing, in a sense, like I said, rhetoric to me, and acting, blustery, and then I right back.
Right.
That's actually what I consider at that point. Often, what I try to do is make it to be a dignity attack, or dignity enrichment, because both are powerful to do different things. But once again, like I said, I don't do that unless there's a problem. Just because I know how to do it, to me, it would be wrong to always use that.
Right. Yeah.
So I only do that when there's a problem. As soon as the problem goes, often, which I challenge people, and then it goes, then I stop. So this goes back to the same thing that I try to teach. Just because you have the ability, in a sense, to smash everybody in the face doesn't mean you should go around smashing everybody in the face.
Right.
Yeah. So,
that's right.
So
you need to use it for what it's used for.
Well, because if you, in other words, the biggest reason you need to do this, even if you think that this is wrong, that you don't like my style, I have moral superior over most people that I talk to because of how I always try to do stuff. So that actually gives me, in a sense, like social weight or social capital, they call it, or, in a sense that I'm able to say things to them and they feel obligated to just listen and not attack because of that. But like I said, that goes back to still, to me, more of the rhetoric game. And I really want to just have an honest conversation. So I don't get into all that unless people start bringing up shit. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
I know how to take care of that. So you can keep reading.
All right. We've got my hammer of truth, i.e. ontology, epistemology, and axiology. Three philosophies that I see used methodologically. A hammer of truth that both builds and destroys. It aids in building accuracy towards truth and destroy bad claims and that are untrue. Ontology is the thingness of things. Questions to define or compare and contrast thingness. Epistemology is the knowledge of things. Questions to explode or establish and confirm knowledge. And axiology, value, worth, goodness of things. Questions to valueize or value judge or establish and confirm value or disvalue, worth or disworth, as well as goodness or ungood. The hammer of truth is my folk name for the methodological use of philosophy, ontology, epistemology, and axiology. Questions to remove errors and add accuracy. We and credible thinkers should adopt rationality, assumptions as necessary constraints on interpretation, as well as practical issues in addressing methodological problems faced by gatherers, ontology, inquisitors, epistemology, and judges, axiology.
Right, I'm trying to show the kind of class of thinking it is.
Yeah.
So you can grasp that what's going on. One's doing one thing. They're not all that. Trying to show they're not, because I've seen this where they have street epistemology.
Right.
Go, Damien, your stuff is just like that. I'm like, yeah, no, it's not. No, my stuff makes people change their mind. Their goal is to get people to doubt. That's not my goal.
Right.
My goal is to navigate truth.
Yeah.
So it's a different goal, because even I thought it was Matt Dillahunty or Aaron Raw or someone said they didn't. I think both of them actually don't like it, but said they don't like it because it doesn't really. Its end goal isn't anything. It's just a little bit more doubt, and then
like street epistemology.
Yeah, like street epistemology's goal is that you start at 100% belief, and if they say, "Oh, now I only believe 80%," I'll win.
Right. Yeah.
Where I've sat down for half an hour and someone stopped being a Christian.
Yeah, I've always been fairly skeptical of the whole street epistemology thing. I know it was very, very popular for a while. I don't know where it's sitting now, but like it just it's fine to ask people questions, right? It's fine to dig deeper into their beliefs.
I didn't say it's no worth at all.
Yeah, but it's saying, it seems like
it's like asking me, Damien, so you have a 3-step method. We're going to only do one step. Do you think that's enough?
Exactly.
What do you think I would say, no.
No, that's not enough. That's not what you need. Yeah.
Right. Because like, you don't ask ontology? Seriously? You just assume all this bullshit? Well, I've heard plenty of gods. Yeah, it doesn't mean you've heard their God.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
In fact, one time I was dumbfounded because first I was asking different stuff, but I wasn't doing my ontology stuff. But then he was kind of having some frustration. And so I started doing, and it's always funny to me too. When you do my questions, people love because they feel like you want to know.
Right. They get to explain. Yeah. They get to explain themselves.
They can't wait to explain. Generally, if they're honest, they can't wait to explain. And that actually makes them more open to hearing your ideas too. So it's actually, this also goes back to the same thing. Is your goal to change, win an argument in a sense, or, seem cool? Because I could do that. If it just didn't seem cool, shit, I could have done that no problem. I could have attacked all these people and made them all feel like fucking fools and shit. And but that first off, that wouldn't be good for my ego because I have too big of an ego. So that would be non-productive towards Damien's wanting to be a better person.
Right.
Because I would be pushing my ego too much, and I already have that problem. I already deal with this issue. But so what I'm saying is that you have all these different things you can do, right? That's why I go back to the first thing is always, what is your goal? So my goal is I want to teach. Mm-hmm. I that's why I say too, I told you, I'm not saying that people need to believe every idea I have. I'm saying I'm smart. Listen to how I tell you to think, because I am pretty smart. Philosophers have been pretty impressed with my thinking, not my beliefs. That's why I say like I believe this or believe that. What you should care about really is how I think.
I used to say like when I would argue with people is like I don't want people to like, what is it? I don't want to show people what to think. I want to teach them how to think, right? Like I want them to learn. Which is what
I want to do. I want to do both, really. But my main goal is not actually even teach you beliefs. It's teach you thinking.
Yeah.
I know that if I can teach you reason, you will see its validity, and it will do all the work for me. I don't have to.
Yeah.
Then you will believe more true things. I'm not saying every single thing I believe is true. I'll believe more true things than are people that go off of faith.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So our last thing is we have Atheist Activism training number 3. Navigate the discussion, control the questions, and turn the argument.
Right. Now, this is the thing that she needs to really work on, I think, is getting people to do more what you want and be able to stop, but doing it in a way where they don't feel you're really cutting them off. Because that's control. If you're out of control, we can just make noise, loud, bang, 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 or like when people they want to shut down, fascists, they like start screaming through loudspeakers and shit. You could just make a bunch of noise.
You could do that,
in a sense, and shut them down or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
But if you're doing a debate, then you're supposed to be like kind of doing it like on a more. You're not supposed to be just banging pots, right?
Yeah, right. You hitting the table because you don't have a good argument. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So that our goal should be to not do that. They do that.
Yeah.
but I want to be better than that. And so I don't feel like that's a valid thing anyway. It's like I said, even if like that's what I was saying, even though it is a argument that basically is rhetoric, it's not. And since I was trying to say, people when they say it, sometimes they think that all rhetoric is bad. Rhetoric is part of critical thinking. It's not all bad. Right. So, but it used in the wrong way, it's easily bad. How's that?
Yeah, it's like it's one of the many tools of like argumentation and like actually being persuasive. It's one of these things.
Exactly.
But you can't rely entirely on rhetoric because
just being you could, but it's not logically beneficial.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like you say, like it might be good in an argument or a debate, but it's not a truth-seeking tool necessarily.
It is not, and that's why I don't like it at all. In the sense by itself, to me, it's worthless. That's why I just use a few things and I step back and don't use it anymore because it doesn't show anything to me. So even if I say I could win every argument that way, that would prove nothing to me because as a rationalist, I know that being good at rhetoric actually by itself doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You're a good orator and storyteller, or something.
That's right.
And the other thing to me about controlling the questions, see, this is to me, like I was trying to say to her, they said she asked them a question and they turned the question back on her. See, they're doing that.
Right.
Learning how to control the questions. It's a skill. Once again, going back to almost like rhetoric and persuasion and stuff. That's what I'm saying. It's learning how to get your question. It's literally a skill. Like I said, there was that guy that was way better than me. And I feel that, if you're going to try to take these people on, you got to be good at it because that's what they do. Otherwise, you're going to not look as good because they're going to use lots of it and jump around and bang pots in a sense, intellectually.
Yep,
and
that's right.
Everyone's like, oh, they made a bunch of noise. I'm like, yeah. Should I give them a Joker's cap?
Right, Yeah.
And then the other one to me is turning the argument. To me, this is, they also do this a lot, which is, once again, like I said, rhetoric and persuasion. Turning the argument. It's like as I said to her, right? Oh, you're an angry black woman. I thought they said this, but, and learning how to then turn that and then throw it back.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Cory's can't speak, or Cory is stupid, or Cory has a job where he only goes, to, sell food or whatever. I can't remember, but whatever you said before, but I was making a comment that all that is just, and who gives a fuck?
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, and that's exactly it, because actually, like if people are doing that, then they have no point against you except that this superficial thing. So you can be like, oh yeah, but I don't give a shit about that. What about how wrong you are?
Right. When someone say, well, Damien's fat.
Well, who cares? What about how wrong you are?
Does that make logical sense what you just said?
Yeah, that's right.
And as one guy go, well, if you were so reasoned, you wouldn't be fat. I go, oh, do you know my life? I had extreme child abuse. My fucking tailbone is broken from being hit by a 2x4.
The two
I don't know
things have
what you
nothing
were
to do
under.
with
I
each
also was
other.
starved.
Yeah.
So my overeating, it wasn't even heavy until my foot got damaged in the big rig accident that my hands lost 50% of their strength. My back hurts all the time. I can barely, like now, I can walk maybe 10 feet and stuff without my feet starting to hurt a little bit. I still have been pushing myself, but I went from a year of being stuck in the bed.
Yeah.
Do you know my life? I'm just making a comment. They make these moralistic judgments somehow that it's just because I can't control myself. Man, I've had fucking depression. I've had fucking, where I was worried about my livelihood. And but here's the thing. I said, it doesn't even matter.
No.
Because I could have no reason and it still wouldn't matter for an argument. I'm still smart as fuck and it doesn't matter if I'm fat or not.
Exactly. Yeah. Body weight has nothing to do with intellectual capacity.
Nothing. Just like her being a woman or me being, intersex and genderqueer. That doesn't make me not smart or smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone of every gender can be brilliant.
Yep.
This is why I told you before too, I think. I feel like because of capitalism, we have a false opinion on intelligence, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
Because look at how many rich people go to college and how few people that are of non-means don't go to college.
Yep.
Is it somehow that rich people are born smart? I mean, everybody.
Absolutely not.
So you get my point. It's a completely fucking bullshit system. And then even if we're both smart, right? I'm smart. My mom would not pay $500 for me to go to welding school. And I had, listen to this, I had a $500 reimbursement because I got an art award in school and also teaching other people. They thought I was so impressive. They gave me $500 scholarship. And I told my mom, all you got to do is pay the $500 to welding school. And then I will give them the reimbursement. And in a week or a month, whatever, you get the money back. So going back to my thing real quick. So I wasn't trying to go off in my life. I was just trying to make a point that people make these assumptions or statements, and there could be a lot of stuff involved. That's all I was saying about her. Like, that a black woman in America should be a lot more angry.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
or actually in anywhere in the world, really. But
yeah,
certainly there's no bastion of hope in America.
Yeah, it's certainly not a flaw, and it certainly doesn't mean that she's wrong about what she's saying.
Yeah. So, absolutely. That means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
What they're saying. But so go ahead. That was the end?
I think so. Yeah, that's the last of the script anyway. So
yeah, but that was the main point I wanted to get is that all these things. So after hearing this stuff, what are your take, or do you have any thoughts on what we talked about, or what your stuff?
I mean, presuppositionalists are full of shit, right? Like, that's just where we are. I knew that before. I have a lot more detail to justify my belief. But yeah,
you're like, I didn't realize they were this full of shit.
Yeah, that's right. Like, I knew they were gibberish speaking, like full of shit guys, but yeah. I actually, on some level, I did think that there was like more of a cohesion between like William Lane Craig and like Saiten Bruggencade and like, but apparently not.
That surprised me too. I thought all the street preachers would agree, and I seen them kind of arguing and saying that they kind of take things different. And I'm like, whoa, that would mean, why am I assuming they're all the same?
Right. Yeah.
That's why I realized, oh shit, I'm believing their lie. Their lie is it's right. Them against us. No, it's all of you, which is a whole bunch of different kinds of you, against a whole bunch of different kinds of us.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I think it's important, and I like I said, I think it's important too to grasp that this is related to rightism and that kind of thinking and fascism and stuff, where it can lead to this similar kind of thinking. So yeah. I think that people give too much credit, I think, sometimes, and not thinking about this stuff. But I still like the thought of that the Republican Party is still worse. But see, so is the Democrat. More right than Hitler is.
Yeah. It's interesting, yeah.
Right? Because most people, like I've heard some leftists, that Nazism has to be the farthest to the right. Like, no, not actually. I agree, the far right's bad, but no, he's bad. But see, he's bad for our reason. He's not an anarchist.
Right.
That's really what makes him a piece of shit. Besides all the other stuff, that's one of the good reasons politically.
Yeah.
What's wrong with him? He's authoritarian as fuck.
Yeah, that's right.
He may be in the middle, what he thinks, but he's limited. So he believes you should get rights for the only his kind of people he wants.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Not real humanity, but just humanity that revolves around the master race.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's not really progressive.
No, yeah. It's like he used some words that are also like he talked about the working class or like the Workers' Party and whatnot. Like he actually took over the Socialist Party before it became the National Socialists, right? So then it became like so he could use the rhetoric of left-ish things.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make him personally a progressive, right? Like you say.
Well, and certainly, like I said, the Democrats and stuff are closer to the middle of the middle, where he's closer to the middle of the top.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying because like I said, I feel like leftists, but probably because then they can subvert that they're also authoritarians.
Right.
But,
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because they go, oh, those Democrats are Republicans. And I'm like, yeah, you guys are right up there too.
Because Stalin was also an authoritarian, right?
Right.
So he was still up at that upper quadrant.
He's not as high as Hitler, though. Believe it or not.
No, probably not.
Nope.
but over to the left. So he's like a stone's throw away from what Hitler was. Like he wasn't out at Hitler's spot, but he's
not as high. I can't remember, but he's like I think 5 or 6 down. I mean, he's really not at the same. He's a lot closer to centrist leftists, or we're a far left.
Yeah.
Southist.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. We're not the authoritarian.
Way down in the bottom corner.
Yeah. When you feel like it's about to fall off the page, you're a little more than me, but I'm pretty close.
Not by much. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not enough for us to have much argument about.
No, that's right.
Well, plus also, as you know, I don't know all the positions. Like when I took the test, it says you're pretty close to anarcho-communist. And I was like, wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying is that, so that some of my choice could just be, I haven't read enough to understand fully how I should call myself. Maybe it's that. I don't know.
That could be. Yeah.
I'm just making a comment that I'm not claiming such knowledge that I know that, but if I take tests and they say, well, this is me, and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty close to that. And I took all my answers. So, I mean, if all my answers come out to that, then I guess that's what I am. It's like if I took all the answers that came out as a Republican, I go, and still call myself an anarchist. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? I mean, because the reason I make that comment is I used to be a Republican. So,
right. Yeah. Yeah. Although it's funny because there's lots of Republicans who are more like, they're like the anti-state type of Republican, like the libertarians, quote unquote.
Yeah, but I feel like they're bullshit too, because they like, let's just say that is it Rand Paul or Paul Ryan? Anyways.
Yeah.
We're one of those people in Congress, whatever. Rand Paul, right?
I think that's right.
Ron Paul's his dad or something.
Yes.
Anyway, supposedly I'm saying that because I bring this up because supposedly they think they're anarchist or whatever, libertarian, and
right, they're economically right, but they're,
which is not true, because then you supported Donald Trump, who clearly was not that. So
yeah, that's right.
I mean,
it's funny too, because like the idea, like if you're going to be on that southern half of like nation states and borders, like that's the shit that like you shouldn't be in favor of. But then they're always in favor of the economically right always ruins that, because they want their dominant country to have the most wealth,
Nationalism.
right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so
Right. I mean, so we inherently, I agree. That's what, like, people are like, well, how do you know you're an anarchist? Well, I know I don't like states and I don't like borders. And even if you had states, I don't like borders. And even if you have leaders, I don't like single leaders. I mean, I just don't like the whole system practically from the top to bottom. A whole kinds of things that I think are what the fuck.
I
That's
don't
why, to
really
me,
think, yeah.
I don't think that you can just fix this broken system. I think the system needs to be fully broken and then put a actually working system that puts the people first. So yeah. Just like I said, I have the same feeling about that about voting. It would be great if we could vote in the anarchism.
Right. But I don't think
I'm
that's how
not
that works.
anti-voting. That's like the Democrats, Republic or Democratic socialists, or like or whatever reformists are like, oh, we need to do voting, and I'm like, I'm not against voting. I just know they'll never get what I need.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't believe that will lead us to true liberation.
No, like some Democrat says, oh, you're voting is direct action, and I'm like, send them the definition of direct action, but actually, it's not.
It's actually quite specifically indirect action. Like, you're voting to have someone else do things.
Authoritarian. I mean, but I thought, it reminds me, people really don't know shit.
No,
a lot of people that they think they're, like, oh, and then it's so funny. He said to me too, and I told you, I don't try to go out of my way to attack Democrats, but if they're going to attack me, they're going to get some back. I mean, I'm not going to do nothing.
Right.
It isn't just they don't understand. I could even vote for a Democrat, and I'll still talk shit every fucking day about them if they're a piece of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's, to me, intellectually honest, and I don't understand their problem with that. I don't get that, but of course they're different. So he says, "Oh, well, but it took the voting to do real things because in authoritarian countries people get killed." And I said, "In America, people have died doing direct action from its conception."
Yeah, that's right.
They still die currently.
Yeah, like, the American government is pretty authoritarian. Like,
hell yes.
They arrest protesters, they put them in prison. They, like, it's not like this is
even the violence that they don't grasp. Look at the violence when the union wanted to do it for the rail workers and he said no.
Yeah.
That is fucking fascism. Violence. What the fuck?
Yeah,
especially since it's against the worker. Oh, so the worker and the employer had a problem and you sided with the employer?
Yeah, and the state sided with the employer. Yeah.
It's the same thing where I don't really agree with the statement all cops are bastards, but it depends on, of course, I guess how you explain it. Because if you say, will the cops choose to side with workers over the employer? And I would say they won't. So I guess they are bastards.
Yeah. They too often you see cops doing the I'm just following orders thing. Too often.
Right. And that's why, like a police union or whatever. Okay, have your own. You're certainly not welcome with the rest of us unions because guess what your goal would be? Union busting.
That's right.
But go fuck yourself. You want to have your own little wannabe union? Okay. Because I don't know what it is. Because all it seems like is it basically protects you against the public.
Yep. From accountability. Exactly.
Right. I haven't seen where it makes sure that rich people go to jail. Or some, or even cops go to jail. In fact, they try to do the opposite of that.
Yeah, there's never any justice from the police, really.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How can it be in the sense of union? Imagine a union which protected only the thugs.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you really call that a workers' union?
Yeah. The funny thing is, there's actually company unions that will go in and they'll be like, oh, we have a union, but we're run by the HR department. And so then they actively fight against the betterment of the workers involved and in favor of the employer. It's fucked stuff.
Oh, it is fucked. Yeah, I'm just and HR supposedly is on your side.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
That's the company's PR with their employees. That's what that is.
That's right. Internal PR.
Yeah, internal PR. There you go. But so I'm just saying that, But it is a problem, you know, that people have these messed up beliefs. Just like I told you, I want to, for when we do our next video on the Mesopotamian stuff, I want to add 2 videos, you know, and one of them is DNA of the Slav people. It shows like how they came to be where they're at.
Right.
And it kind of all sort of Poland and then goes down into Western Ukraine at the most sort of. That's even where the Russians come from. That's why I made a comment because I seen a Democrat, oh, Slav Ukraine, and I'm like, yeah, I don't understand what that means because Russians are Slavs. So is Belarus. So is a whole bunch of other people too. I mean, like Poland. I mean, what? Slavs.
Yeah, that's right. That's the whole like region basically.
Yeah,
right?
I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? It's like it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And then I saw, oh, Zelensky's actually saying that. I'm like, then he doesn't know what he's talking about either.
Right.
Equally is disturbing.
Yeah, that's right.
Like you're saying it like, you know, it's you're keeping out the Russians. Both of you are considered Eastern Slavs.
Yeah.
Not even some different version.
Yeah. So you really shouldn't be saying that you're keeping out the Slavs or, you know, you shouldn't be saying that like it's.
You shouldn't say it at all because first off, it sounds kind of like racist or something. But
Yeah.
even worse is because they're also that.
Yeah.
That's like saying only Hispanics in, you know, Spain. Like, yeah, well, that's not most of the country.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
And do you mean Hispanic as the language or do you mean it in some other way?
Right. Yeah. Like, are you being racist?
You get my point?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you meaning how you speak as somehow some critique of the other people, how they speak? That doesn't sound real unethnocentric of you.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, so being Damien, I thought, you know what, maybe people don't know some of the stuff I know. I know this. I know a lot of stuff, history and stuff that people don't know.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, I'll just post the link. Not I didn't say anything about Ukraine or anything. I just said, you know, DNA of the Slavs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But migration of the Slavs. And this guy's like, Republican propaganda.
Literally not. Like it's
literally I'm not a Republican. Can't stand the fucking people.
Like,
I'd vote Democrat. Listen to me. I would vote Democrat all day long and never vote for Republican because to me those bitches are absolute scumbags.
yeah.
Not saying that. I mean, I love the Democrats. I was making a comment that to say that I am like favoring Republicans is fucking beyond laughable. Like, are you joking? Then the other thing is, I said it's actually the science. That's all it is. It's not even propaganda. I didn't even make any claim or what. So when you see actual science, you just go, "Oh, well, it must be propaganda." I'm like, "Oh my god!" The thinking of people is just bizarre. Yeah. So, but like I told you, I think that when people hear a thing that's not directly supporting their worldview.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that. It's like how somehow being anti-war has now become a pro-Russia stooge. Yeah. Like if you're anti-war, if you encounter Ukrainians on, or not Ukrainians, but like Democrats supporting Ukraine online, they will say that you are supporting Russia. Well, I don't support Russia.
I don't have a Ukrainian flag, so I must be supporting Russia. Well, of course,
I don't have a Russian flag either. I will never put a flag in my profile. So,
in fact, I don't have an American flag on my profile either.
Yeah,
in fact, I have an anarchist flag in my profile. That's the flag I have.
Yeah, there you go.
I know, but it sometimes I get shocked because I forget how uncritical thinking people are. I'm like, are you fucking for real?
Yeah, no, it's very odd.
So don't learn facts because they might contradict what you believe. Holy shit!
Right. You can't just learn new things and change your worldview.
Right. Well, but actually, that guy did. He came back and said, well, because I still, unlike some leftists, like I said once again, that like, you know, talks tons of shit. Some of it justified. So I'm not saying that.
Yep.
I'm just making a point. I don't do that because I don't find it. I could do it with Christians or whatever. I could sit there and just, make fun of them, say shit. That's not productive. So I started the same thing. If I'm going to talk to someone, I'm going to try to get them to reason, because I told you that's really my goal. Because I know once you can reason, then everything else comes to that, or aids you in getting to better answers.
Yep.
So I basically reason with them. Hey, I'm not into Russia. Can't stand them. Fuck Trump. Fuck the fucking Republicans. I'm fuck Putin. I don't give a fuck about that dickhead either. I think he's a piece of shit.
Yep.
That doesn't mean I'm gung-ho pro fucking Ukraine, especially because of how Ukraine didn't let people leave, forced everyone to fucking fight and shit. I as an anarchist, that's a big problem for me.
Yeah, I had problems with that as well.
But as a person in general, an anarchist, my thinking is you should be allowed to defend yourself. So if they're defending themselves, I'm not against that. I am against you giving billions to them and not giving anything to the poor and the needy or whatever. You seem to only have this bloodlust to give away money when it has to do with war, and it's fucking gross to me.
Yeah.
Not saying, like I said, that's why I told him. I reasoned with him. I'm not saying I'm against Ukrainians defending themselves.
Yeah.
I'm not pro-Russian. Really, I'm more for both people. I feel like Russians are being sent into a meat grinder for a dickhead's ego, and then you have this other, to me, unjustly person forcing people into war, because of also probably his ego, wanting to seem like the cool whatever, and win. Yeah. So I don't like either of it, really. I mean, that doesn't, like I said, it doesn't mean I think that Ukraine has no right to defend themselves, but come on, that's not the only issue on the table.
Right, exactly.
And believe it or not, we can think about multiple things and then come to a rational conclusion of the whole picture, not some bloated propaganda by either side, including the Democrat side, which is, to me, too sycophant into this whole war thing. And
well, I mean, because the American government is like hand in hand with the military-industrial complex, right?
Which is also very disgusting.
So of course they're going to be like, yeah, we'll pay these guys that we know that we like, and we'll send those things over to you guys, because the more you use, the more we pay, the more these guys are happy. These are our buddies.
Right, but they pick and choose, because they didn't do that for the Kurds.
Right. Yeah.
Who helped us fight ISIS.
Yeah. Well, they did for a little while, right? And then
until it was not convenient.
Yeah, until it was not convenient.
Once Turkey wanted to follow them, and Turkey's also an ally, we went, well.
Oh, actually, you know what?
We're in NATO, so you're not NATO, so fuck you.
Yeah.
Which is also why one of the reasons I don't like NATO. Leftists have all kinds of reasons why they don't like NATO.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I don't share some of those also. But I'm saying, to me, I can just look at, even what it claims to be, you only protect who you protect. I already have a problem with that.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Because don't say you're making a moral thing and yet you won't protect everyone. Then it's not moral.
Yeah. It's arbitrary. Then it's arbitrary.
Not. So to me, there's other reasons, but I'm just saying, to me, that like I told you before, like destroying a position, like reductio ad absurdum, right? Destroying a position. I try to accept as much possible and show I can still destroy it. Even if I accept almost all of it and still go, yeah, but it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And if it's a peacekeeping force, why isn't it doing more to stop war than just engaging in it? And why does it do more posturing? Because what they go, well, it doesn't engage in war. Oh yeah, it does war games all the fucking time. Threatens, when Russia does war games, or even North Korea, right, does war games over Japan, do not we go fucking crazy? You don't think other countries have a right to feel crazy when we do fucking war games right in their fucking backyard?
Yep.
Anyways, my point still is, you know how it is. You can just talk about all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Because there's so much fucking shit. It's like, that's why I told you, there's not a limit. In fact, we have like 4 archaeologists that I'm talking to about coming on and doing different times. Now, I don't want them all at once. I want one to talk about.
That way everybody's got their time, right?
Right, yeah. Well, and then they can say different things maybe, because they're different, a little bit different perspective. Even though our archaeology one could be archaeology and deals with Greek. One does archaeology and deals with North America or Maine or whatever. It's one guy.
Right.
So it does Native Americans a little more. The other guy doesn't really do that because he's over in Greece,
Makes sense.
or whatever. So my point is, so even that their perspective is going to be different because of where they're at in a sense.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So, yeah. So, and also going to have a guy come on. He may even be our next video. Is the guy that's used to be a full-on conspiracy theorist.
Oh, geez.
Believe in like almost all of them, like just
Nice.
totally. And then he by his own reason, we're going to find out, but his own reason or whatever came out of it. He says so. That interests me.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's good.
Yeah.
That,
so I thought, well, because I also thought, just like Graham Hancock's or whatever, people can get flawed beliefs, whether they do with religion or politics, like believing in, authoritarianism.
Mm-hmm.
As if that's some solution.
Right.
Well, the solution is a nicer dictator. Yeah, I don't think so. So,
yeah.
Well, my point is though, we're going to be doing more stuff, and even like I said, I like talking to you. Period. We could just talk about politics for hours and shit.
For sure.
And I'm going to do that too. But I'm saying is that there's so much to talk about that is important, and I really appreciate you sharing your time.
Oh yeah, no, I love doing this. So yeah, I apologize for not coming on Saturday. Like
it happens. Well, this is what I told you before. Remember, I told you that what really is important to me is who you are and what we talk about together. And so life happens. I mean, anyone who's so rigid that doesn't let life happen isn't really living in life.
True. Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
You got to be able to roll with it on some level. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, I still appreciate your flexibility.
Right. Well, you matter. And like I said, I would, just like all these other interviews, I don't know. I'm trying to make them, and they're kind of agreeing or whatever, but maybe some in February, maybe some, I don't know.
Down the line a little bit.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Even the one historian dude, which I've talked to before, I want to talk to him again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But he said a couple months because he's busy. But anyway, because he goes to other countries and stuff.
Right.
Guatemala and all this, he goes to Mayan ruins. He's got a lot of cool videos about that.
That's awesome.
But anyways, I'm just saying. So, but this goes back to my point. Even this is what people don't understand. I would bring these people on even if they told me I was wrong about stuff,
right?
Because I want to know. See,
yeah.
Look, I don't understand what people always. That's why I would go back to I don't like debates. I'd rather go in there with an open mind than a closed one I have to win. I just does not appeal to me at all.
Yep.
Because like I said, I can just use rhetoric and I'll win every time.
Right.
Oh, okay, cool.
But are we... yeah, but are we serving truth? Are we serving the better? Yeah.
It reminds me of the joke, right? Someone says, you order pizza or something, and then they come and they go, oh, how much is it? $40 for 2 pizzas. Oh, I don't have $40. And they go, can you write a check? A check.
I still don't have $40.
I'll buy the company. How much you need? My point is that you're writing a check for something you can't do. But I'm just saying that it's like that. People do that stuff. They buy into stuff and they actually don't have. It's like the presuppositional people believe that no one else can have logic without their thinking. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You need to go learn some logic because that's illogical.
Yeah.
So
ridiculous.
But go ahead and tell us about what you're doing. I know you did the video of the origin of everything or something, whatever.
Oh, the dawn of everything. Yeah, me and Justin talked about that for Red Reviews because Red Reviews is back on the Mind of a Skeptical Leftist podcast and channel. So yeah, and now I've started streaming on Twitch. It's my username on Twitch is Skeptical Leftist. And so now every 2 weeks, I'm going to do on Mondays, I'm going to do just learning about a claim, like just type in the search bar and see, what I find out about what somebody's saying on the internet. And then on Tuesdays, I'm reading Anarchist Theory, which I did today, or not theory, but history. And then on Wednesdays, which is tomorrow, I'm going to be streaming. I'm going to cover some current events.
Cool.
And then on Thursday, I'm going to be doing that's when I'll be doing theory. So
right on.
Yeah. So that's my fun stuff now.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing that stuff too. It helps, especially people like me that don't like reading.
Yeah. It's always nice to have somebody reading it for you. Yeah.
But I do read. I don't really, I don't do it for fun. That's why the biggest thing I try to say, it's not fun to me. Some people it's fun. It's not fun to me. I told you. My attitude would be do nothing. Go sit in a jacuzzi and smoke a joint. I mean, I would do nothing. Like, don't you want to investigate the world? Nope.
The way my brain works now, it's clear to me that reading is work. It takes effort. I have to focus. I can't be doing anything else.
Right. Right, but like I said, though, I'm not saying it's bad. It's great. It's just for me, it's just not something that and like I said, it probably has to do with my upbringing. And my upbringing was shit, and I have had a hard time getting out of that attitude. You take the kid out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the kid. Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
I was raised in a rough area, and it's hard to get out of the mindset of not giving a fuck.
In some ways, that's not that much different. Like when it comes to reading, anyway, that's not that much different than like growing up on a farm. I was raised that you don't need to know philosophy. You don't need to read books.
See, right. So in my world, to survive that shit, in fact, if you talk philosophy, that would get your ass kicked.
Right.
You better not talk like that.
I wasn't raised where I would get my ass kicked, but it was like people look at you going, "What? Why are you wasting your time with this? Like, we got work to do."
Right. Yeah. Well, right. But that's good. And I wasn't saying that I have some exclusive freaking, life.
Yeah.
I don't ever. In fact, like I said to you before, I feel that all of our lives matter. It doesn't matter that if it's less extreme than mine or more extreme than mine. I mean, my stepdad for his, I don't know if it was 16th birthday, I think maybe 15. I'm not sure. But his mother had all his friends come and everything, and then the party, and she goes, "I have a special gift just for you." And she kicked him straight in the balls as hard as she could. Dropped him to the ground, just walked out in front of all his friends.
What?
So my life was bad. Not saying that, but I'm not the exclusionary
challenges
on
also.
bad lives.
Challenges also. I find it's interesting, like the parallels, like how many of our parents influenced us not to be interested in reading and education and various.
Well, I mean, my parents really didn't read. Why? Because they already knew God was true. What did you read?
Yeah.
You read the Bible. That's it. You're done. There's no need to go investigate stuff, really. So,
well, on the plus side, that was one thing I never had. Like my dad didn't read the Bible. He never told me to read the Bible. We were too busy working. We had to work. There's work to be done. What are you talking about?
You got saved from that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, but that's why I always laugh when they say, like, I'm using the Bible. I'm like, dude, I had to unlearn the Bible so I could get morality, not the other way around. Yeah. So, but anyways, I appreciate what you do. And everybody, we're going to have a lot of different shows coming, and along with doing the other stuff too, which I already said. And we're still going to do, even after all these archaeologists, or maybe somewhere in between, who knows. We're still going to do as I want to do, where I show the three things: pseudoscience, pseudo-history, and pseudo-archaeology. I want to explain these things. And,
sure.
And I'm not an academic, so I'm not saying that, I can't be wrong in something. In fact, actually, I say the opposite of that. I'm a fallibilist.
Yeah.
And a fallibilist believes that everyone's eventually going to be wrong. So
which makes perfect sense. But everybody's wrong about something. So
right. So, but it's an epistemic humility, I would say, almost.
Yeah.
It's realizing. So that's why that's one thing. Like say pseudo-archaeology is like all the experts are wrong, and I'm only right, and here's why. You're like, oh, just before I even know what you're talking about, that's already not good.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So,
all right. Well,
go ahead and just real quick tell us where to find you and stuff. And
The Mind of a Skeptical Leftist on YouTube and on all podcast apps. And I'm at Skeptical Leftist or Skeptical Lefty on Twitter. And I'm also on the Collectiva Mastodon server. I'm Skeptical Leftist on there as well.
Right on. All right, everybody. Have a good day.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Damien Marie AtHope. In the simplest terms, I am an atheist-humanist philosopher and prehistorical writer-researcher at DamienMarieAtHope.com. I am specifically an axiological atheist. An axiological atheism can be thought to involve ethical and value theory reasoned and moral argument driven apatheism, agnosticism, atheism, antitheism, antireligionism, secularism, and humanism. Axiological atheists can be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. As an axiological atheism's ethically reasoned and constructive pro-humanity. I am an axiological thinker, value theorist. The science of goodness, worthiness, usefulness, valuableness, virtue, reliableness, accuracy, validity, morality, integrity, beneficialness, etc., etc. We axiologists have a value consciousness. And in general, we see the architecture of humanistic humanitarianism value in people that we see as dignity beings. Places and things are not. Axiology is a value theory. In its broadest sense, it involves areas of philosophy that are deemed to encompass some evaluative or evaluation aspect. Therefore, it crosses almost all domains in some way or another. Now for a more detailed terms as to what I am. I am an axiological atheist, an anti-theist, an anti-religionist, secularist, humanist, rationalist, writer, artist, poet, philosopher, advocate, activist with schooling in psychology, sociology, as well as I am an autodidact, self-taught in science, archaeology, anthropology, and philosophy. I promote science and am against pseudoscience, pseudo-history, pseudo-morality, things that are found in religion.